Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. We are here once again, Friday, June 13th. It is indeed Friday the 13th. And over the past 24 hours, we've had some things happen on this planet that have not necessarily been the best things for humanity. Obviously, also not the best things for the market. Israel did launch preemptive strikes against Iran last night. We're going to have a lot of updates today in terms of the implications of those attacks on the broader economy, the broader geopolitical landscape, and then overall what it means for what of the most important things for the economy and for humanity, to be honest, is oil prices. What does that do for the price of oil? And what does that do for input costs and output costs throughout the entire economy? Futures last night were down based on this. Obviously, Iran, big exporter of oil. So if they're getting attacked, if their facilities are getting attacked, then that's something that's going to spike up oil prices. Oil prices rose the highest in 3 years. 12% at most last night. Right now in the morning, they're up 8%. Futures were down about 2%. However, futures are kind of recovering. And I don't want to say they're actually recovering. And when I mean futures, I mean, the entire pre-markets, because we're still down in the pre-markets. However, the geopolitical war headlines tend to always be a buy the dip, like pretty much every time. And as of this morning, it kind of is the case. I mean, stocks, if you looked at your portfolio last night, you were probably down way more than what you were down currently when you woke up this morning, at least as of just now in the past 10 minutes, because we did get some updates. President Trump actually showed some support for what Israel did, even though last night it was kind of like he didn't show support. So we'll talk all about that. But, everything's down about 2-3%. NVIDIA down 1.3, Tesla down 1.5, Palantir down 1.4. Got Googs down 2%. Broader S&P was down almost 2.3%. It's down 0.92%. It's really not as aggressive, at least in the pre-markets yet. Now, maybe when the markets open, we're going to see a lot more selling just because people don't want to deal with this over the weekend, and they're going to be kind of evaluating how this is playing out. But as of right now, it is not as aggressive as I think some people thought it would be. And also, historically, when there tends to be a geopolitical headline, the market reacts to it in real time, and then the market remembers that if we're not getting to World War III, it might not be the worst thing in the world. So let's get some quick updates right now on what happened last night, a little bit of a summary, and then we will go from there and get into some analysis on ultimately how this is going to play out.
And then the NASDAQ off by about 1.5%. Treasury yields this morning are weaker for most of the yield curve. The 10-year is at 435, the 2-year is at 390, the 30-year at 484 this morning. And then you have oil prices, which spiked as much as 14% yesterday. Initially on this news, you can see that Brent is above $75 right now. It's up by 8.25%. WTI close to $74 a barrel. It's up by 8.5% too. And we will continue to follow the fallout in the markets, but also everything that's happening from a geopolitical perspective.
Here's the latest updates on Israel's attack and Iran's response. Israel said 200 of its fighter jets participated in the attack targeting nuclear facilities, ballistic missile factories, and Iranian military commanders. Iran's Revolutionary Guard said its top commander was in fact killed. According to an Israeli military official, the country has shot down many of the more than 100 drones that Iran launched in response to the attack. Israel's military said it was forced to act based on new information showing that Iran was approaching the point of no return, and some conjecture just days away, apparently, in developing a nuclear weapon. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization saying parts of a key uranium enrichment facility were damaged, but no nuclear radiation has occurred at this point. This all comes as U.S. and Iranian officials scheduled Ambassador Witkoff to hold a 6th round of talks on Iran's nuclear program this weekend in Oman.
President Trump just posting on Truth Social in the last couple of minutes. Here's what he had to say there. I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it, but no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There's already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. God bless you all.
All right. So that was Trump's statement this morning. Now, it's a little, you have to read a little bit between the lines right here, because last night, multiple reports came out that Trump called Netanyahu before he launched the strikes and said, don't do it. Trump, I think 3 days ago, said publicly, hey, he quite literally said, we don't want any escalations before the negotiations complete. And today was supposed to be one of the final days of their negotiations. Obviously, that's not going to happen anymore. But Trump didn't want an attack before that. Now the attack happened. Israel, they launched last night. And so now Trump has to find a way to stay strong and show that the United States is not operating from a point of weakness. Last night, Iran state television said that the deputy commander-in-chief of all armed forces was killed, along with their nuclear scientists. And so Trump tweeted this morning, along with what we just heard right there, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. That's why today was going to be the final days of negotiations. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance. Basically, Trump is saying, hey, we gave you 2 months to make a deal. You didn't make a deal. If you read between the lines, he's also implying I didn't want Israel to attack them because, Trump's a negotiator. He would have given them another couple of days to come to a conclusion. Israel ended up attacking. Israel attacked, obviously, because in their interest, they felt like they had to use force in order to stop any type of deal that Trump would get done with Iran that would not meet their interests. And now Trump is saying, all right, Iran, you got attacked. You got hit pretty hard. Israel did what they did. I couldn't stop them. However, I am still willing to make a deal, which now begs the question, what does Iran do next? And based on everything they've been saying, and again, they've always had threats that have not really manifested into any real attacks, because at the end of the day, they know that their military is not really equipped to deal with a full-scale attack or a full-scale war to the level that you would imagine, a real civilized country would be able to meaningfully get into if they had a developed military. And so a lot of times when they've given a threat, it hasn't been, followed out on. This time they are saying, we are going to attack aggressively, and Israeli officials as well, which is why I think Iran's not lying this time. Israeli officials claim there's a very high chance that the entire Iranian general staff and several senior Iranian nuclear scientists were killed in Israeli strikes, and they are expecting rapid retaliation. Now, some of the retaliation has already happened. Some of it has already happened. They've already launched a ton of drones and a ton of missiles. The Iron Dome system in Israel has intercepted many of them. So there haven't been any serious casualties in Israel, or else that would have been reported based on the attacks that they did last night. However, Israel this morning said, we are ready for this to go multiple weeks. We expect Iran to come back aggressively. And Iran this morning also said that we will be attacking the United States along with our pursuit to attack Israel. Now, again, they can say that if they want to say that. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to actually carry it out on attacking the United States. If they attack any of our military bases, Trump is probably not going to like that either. And, I don't think he's going to be too afraid to do what he needs to do. So the question is going to be, is that going to happen? Right? Is it going to lead to an escalation that is going to be as dramatic as what we think it is going to be? Now, Marco Rubio last night, Secretary of State, said, tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved. He's unequivocally saying we are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with the regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. So although Iran is saying, hey, we're going to target the United States and Israel, the question is, are they actually going to do that? And again, Trump this morning said, hey, you've already had a ton of destruction. If you have any chance of saving the Iranian empire and not, facing more destruction, get a deal done. Israel will not attack you if the deal is on the right terms, and the United States will probably start opening and doing business with you, etc. So the question now for all of us as investors, first of all of us as humans, none of us want to see this. Obviously, death, destruction, casualties, that's not a good thing in the world. Bad for geopolitical stability, also just bad in general, because any of these types of escalations, you never know, could lead to something bigger. We've been pretty decent over the past decade of it not escalating to the point where it's like a literal nuclear war. And part of the reason is because you don't want rogue actors to have those nuclear weapons. But in the midst of them trying to not get those nuclear weapons, you get all these semi-proxy wars and regional conflicts. And the question then becomes, in the midst of them trying to prevent a nuclear war, do we end up getting into a war that could maybe not be a nuclear war, but still be a pretty aggressive war? So far, we haven't had something like that happen in a very long time. The question is this the time where that happens? Because if it is, the stock market's going to go down. It's just, it is what it is. If we actually do get into some type of horrible, meaningful conflict, we're going to have some issues. I don't know if that's going to happen this time. I don't think Trump wants to have a war. Oil prices right here, as you can see, up about 8% right here. I don't think Trump wants to be the president that is dealing with the Middle East in this type of way. He's getting very close to getting really good relationships with Saudi Arabia and Qatar. In his last administration, the Abraham Accords, they were close to signing that before you had COVID. There's a lot of things that I think he wants to do from a diplomatic perspective, which is why they said unequivocally, and that was kind of a message to Iran saying, hey, we didn't work with Israel to do this. We were not trying to do it. We were negotiating with you guys. They did this on their own. But Trump's also saying, look, if you guys don't give us a good deal that is also serving their interests, aka unequivocally saying you will never build a nuclear reactor, then they're going to keep doing this over and over again. So you have a choice now. Either you attack back and then get attacked back again by them, and if you dare touch us, we're definitely going to attack back, or you sign the deal. And the question is just going to be how this plays out. The question is going to be how this ultimately plays out. And I don't know. We're going to find out over the coming days, definitely over the coming hours, how Iran and Israel want to deal with this situation. But as of now, there has already been some high-level people that have died from Iran, and the question is just how do they retaliate? Now, they've already retaliated to an extent, but they want to, retaliate in a way that shows that they are strong and powerful, etc. And that means over the coming days and weeks, we're probably going to have to see how that plays out. So for investors, what does that mean? Again, usually this stuff tends to be a buy the dip. Everyone's asking, am I still in the Aero IPO? Yes, I'm still in the Aero IPO, AIRO. I requested 250 shares. The price that Robin had showed last night at the allocation will be $10. I don't know how many shares I'm going to get. It's a very speculative thing, dude. I'm kind of just doing it for the thematic of drones and defense technology, and maybe we get a pump. IPOs have done well. It could also tank 30, 40%. Like, do not get into it if you think it's going to be a surefire. It's going to go up 300% like Circle, because I don't know if that's going to happen. It might not. So if you're going to get into that, you have to understand that as well. This is probably not the best day to IPO, to be honest. There could have been a lot of better days to IPO than a day like this. Nonetheless, they are a company that theoretically could be used in a conflict because, again, they work on autonomous drones. So maybe that is some type of an understanding of where the IPO goes. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to see how this one also plays out over the coming weeks. So that's what we got going on right now in the pre-markets. As you can see, things are red, but it's not like red. Last night at the market open, everyone's going to have to put how much they're down their portfolio. Last night at the worst of it, I was down 35,000. Right now I'm down 27. A little bit of an $8,000 recovery overnight. Still bad, right? Still not the best, but it's not like it's going down even further. The tariff stuff was worse than this. Dude, we got a worse freaking drop on the S&P when Trump and Elon were going at it on Thursday last week. So, it's just not, the market's not interpreting to be as bad as people think it is. Now, maybe that's because the markets haven't opened. We have 30 minutes, but at least now in the pre-markets, that's what's happening. Now, Trump did tell ABC the Israeli attack on Iran was excellent. Again, he kind of has to say this. He cannot say we don't defend. I don't think he wants to say we weren't a fan of the attack, because then Iran is going to say, oh, well, there's a wedge between the United States and Israel. Boom, we can fit in that wedge and try to exploit it. So I think he's supporting Israel right now, even though he made it clear that he didn't want them to attack because he has no choice, or at least he thinks he has no choice when it comes to working from a position of strength when it comes to dealing with Iran. Now, JP Morgan this morning said oil could hit 130, but we're still calling for 60. So they put this out this morning. JP Morgan is sticking to its base case oil price forecast for 2025. The investment bank projects Brent crude will trade in the low to mid 60s. Right now it's at 75. Brent could spike to 120 in a worst case scenario as a result of escalating tensions in the Middle East. Brent right now is at 73. Do we really get to 120? Last time we were anywhere close to that, it was Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which was like a full-on invasion. And, that was pretty bad. Question now is, does this get bad enough to get oil to spike that high? The implications for investors is if oil were to spike that high, we're not getting any rate cuts anytime soon. It's just not happening because if oil was the reason CPI went down year over year to 2.4% last month that we saw a couple days ago. Oil was part of the reason why PPI came down. Oil prices across the entire country in the United States are coming down. If that spikes up aggressively and shelter doesn't come down the way we want to come down, and we don't really have any meaningful deals on tariffs, which means the average 10% rate that we have sustains itself, inflation is going to be sticky. At worst case scenario, it's going to go higher. Best case, it stays flat, but that means in either of those scenarios, we don't get a rate cut. So, it's one of those things that we're going to have to learn over the coming months how to deal with, but hopefully this is something that can be resolved rather soon. Put in the chat if you're buying. Put in the chat if you're buying the dip. I got a lot of comments last night on Twitter as I was looking at what people were saying. I mean, the sentiment that I got from most people was they're buying the dip. Honestly, this is not even really a dip to me. Like Robinhood was 74, now it's 71. It's like, okay, like a real dip would be 65. If we had like a real dip, you know, like a little dip would be maybe 68. But I'm curious if we actually get a real dip. Let's do that poll in the chat. Let's do that poll in the chat. How many people think there's going to be a legitimate dip today? I've called 5% or more across stocks. That doesn't mean the S&P has to be down 5%, but 5% more across stocks. So do we get a 5% drop across stocks today? I don't think so, dude. We've had a lot of things that try to take down this market. Moody's, bond auctions, European tariffs. I don't know if that happens this time. I don't know if that happens today. And if it does, I think you buy that dip. I think you freaking buy the dip, dude. Like, what is derailing this market outside of a full-on, war back and forth between Israel and Iran that both of them don't actually want to get into? And so it's going to be a high threshold to really get into that. And if anything, the United States will intervene and try to, mediate the situation. So when you take it to its logical extreme, it's like, what actually causes that bad of a drop? And, oil prices is the obvious answer, but will oil prices actually elevate to the point where it's that bad? 70% of you say no. 70% of you say no. I would agree. What would you buy in the dip? I would buy the names that I've been buying. I would buy my hood. If Tesla gets back below 300, I'd buy Tesla, Nvidia. SoFi gets to something stupid like $12, which it shouldn't be. Like, dude, the Chime IPO was, where's Chime right now? The Chime freaking is a higher market cap than SoFi. We all thought this would happen. It did happen. They're down. They're barely down. They're down 1%. They opened up 45% yesterday. At one point, they were up 50%. And their market cap was yesterday $1 billion higher than SoFi. Currently, right now, SoFi is at 16, Chime is at 13. Yesterday, Chime was at like 17, 18, and SoFi was at 16. So in general, the market is giving them both a comparable valuation. But that's my point. It's like we're just not getting a crazy dip. Like Google, like 165, maybe that gets exciting. Amazon 200, that gets exciting. But we're not getting these prices. Relative to yesterday, there's a bit of a dip. But this is not like a real dip that would get retail to come back like they did in March and April. Grabs at 455 right now, pre-markets. I mean, that's going to go down with everything as it goes down, 458. But like, again, how aggressive do we see some of these prices go down? I don't think we're seeing it. That's my take. I don't think we see a full-on collapse unless we get some new headlines throughout the coming hours. And Trump has already kind of mediated the situation by taking Israel's side right here and letting Iran know, like, hey, like, although we didn't support this, it's time to get a deal done, or else, this is just going to keep escalating. So the question is now how this plays out over the coming hours. Okay, so SBET, dude, let's talk about this real quick, and then we'll move on to some of the other macro stuff we got going on. So SBET is down 67% right now in the pre-markets. This is why you don't chase, folks. This is why you don't chase. As much as it sucks to be in a stock that's not going to the moon like some of these other stocks, these guys diluted so hard yesterday. I mean, it was insanity, the type of dilution they put out yesterday. You're looking at it right here, 10.4 million shares. There's a lot of specifics in terms of how they issued these warrants and these different shares, these shelf offerings. 58 million shares. And then you can see 10 million pre-funded warrants, 10 million shares of common stock, 3.5 million strategic advisor warrants, 3.5 million shares of common stock. I mean, they just went on and on and on of all these different types of dilution they were engaging in. This is the company that did the ETH treasury strategy, which means they, like, instead of doing Bitcoin treasury, they did an Ethereum treasury. And they said, hey, let's put out 58 million shares. Obviously, the stock collapsed 70% because that's insanity. And this is why you don't chase. So, I know sometimes, it's like annoying to not be in the names that are high flying, but it's also sometimes something that can save you. Again, this was 36 cents on May 23rd. It pumped to $125. How many people freaking bought all the way up there thinking that's just going to keep going up, and now it's back at $10? So yeah, that necessarily wasn't the best. Archer right now in the pre-markets, these guys. Oh, wow. Did Archer do a dilution too? Archer's down 15%. Holy crap. Someone said, is it a buy now? Oh my God. Wait, did Archer also do a dilution? I think they did. If they did, that's That's down 15% if they did. I'll get the details on if they did. If they didn't, and this is because of Iran, then I mean, I don't know if it deserves to be down 15%. Yeah, they did an offering. How much was the size? 850 million? 850. Dude, their market cap's only 6 billion. So they basically did 15% of their market cap. Wow. Look, I'm okay with offerings and convertible notes and dilution if there's a strategy, it makes sense, and you're doing it from a position of strength. It's great to raise money if you can raise money and then use it strategically. If you're just raising money for the hell of it because your stock is at a high price and you know you can get away with it, that's when it's like, it's fishy, right? It's like, why are you doing that? So Oklo did it as well, but again, Oklo, I don't blame them because Oklo it went from $6 to $67. It's like at some point you have to do that, and the stock's barely is down 5%. It's at 61. And you know, at the end of the day, if investors believe in that story, then you go for it. But you have to do something with the money. And Archer already has a ton of money, so I don't really know exactly what they're doing with it. They also don't have a working product yet. So yeah, that's the one thing about Archer, dude. They don't have an actual thing that's out there in the world that's like flying. And so every time they raise money and they, you know, keep extending all their stuff and they go on Jimmy Fallon, do all this marketing, it's like, where's the product? And until I think people get the product, people are still going to think what's going on. Cough, cough, GameStop. Yeah, exactly, dude. GameStop got wrecked yesterday. It's actually looking like a more attractive buy. I'm not going to lie. They have like, what's a $9 billion market cap? And don't these guys have like $10 billion in cash or something? It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, GameStop is a prime example of doing that as well. Midnight Aircraft does have orders. They do have $6 billion in backlogs. The question is just, you know, they're going to get that money when they actually deliver the product as well. I do have HIMS. Yes, I have 500 shares of HIMS. 500 shares of HIMS. Like HIMS, give me below 50 for me to get excited about that dip. If not, like, you know, is this still a real big dip at the end of the day? Okay, cool. So that's what we got in the context of the Israel-Iran situation. Obviously, we'll keep updated throughout the rest of the day. We got some other headlines to look at, but my take here is that we're not going to get an aggressive dip. And if we do, I'd be a buyer because I still think this is a pretty strong bull market backed up by some good fundamentals. Now, one final thing on this real quick, or actually two final things on this real quick, is CTAs were net short oil. CTAs were net short oil. So that is blowing up in their face right now. And you would have to imagine that they're going to be buying a lot of oil calls today to be able to deal with that as well. So CTAs, again, commodity trading advisors. They're basically professional investment managers who seek to profit from like commodity and currency movements, usually by investing in those ETF futures. And they have been net short, Bank of America research says, oil. So that short is blowing up in their face this morning. And eventually they're going to have to either cover that short or wait till the situation chills out. But that could be something that also creates more volatility because if they're shorting oil and that short's blowing up, you don't know what else they have to sell in terms of other commodities, silver, etc. Maybe they're up on gold and silver. They sell some of that to be able to cover their short. So there's some wonky stuff that could happen over the next 24 hours in order to resolve some of the issues going on in the commodities market right here. In terms of the price of gold, GLD should be up right now. GLD is up about 2%, 1.4% here right now. Where's UNH? UNH is down a little bit, down about 1%. Okay, last thing on this that I want to show is a chart that we've looked at a while ago, but it's important to bring this chart up again, is what happens after major geopolitical events. So this is a great chart by Ryan Dietrich, and basically it shows 12 months from now, you're up most of the time. I mean, on average, you are up from 1950 to 23 after you had this 1987 stock crash, Iraq war, terrorist attacks, 9/11, Russia invasion of Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. On average, 12 months later, we are up 73% of the time. 6 months later, it's up 70% of the time. 3 months later, up 65%. 1 month later, it's up 60.5%. So it tends to be pretty green if you just lay it out, right? Or wait it out and kind of buy the dip because markets tend to recover and capital needs to be allocated. And that capital finds its way into equities if they get to very attractive prices based on geopolitical things that could be bad for the moment, could be bad for, you know, many months after that moment, but ultimately don't destroy an entire economy unless it's a legitimate world war. And I don't think that's what we're seeing right now. By the way, money market funds last night, we got that data, not too big of a decrease, but we did decrease by about 9.34 billion. So 7.01 trillion still on the sidelines, but last week 9 billion left and went into other assets, but it did get out of those money market funds. I did not get into ASTS yet after the deep dive. I'm looking for a bit of a pullback, dude. I mean, kind of don't want to buy that thing at 52-week highs. I would like 32.50 would be kind of like my core target on that. if I don't get it, I don't get it. But yeah, so like this is an opportunity, right? Like, so ASTS, I don't know if I'm going to get to 32 today, but like I want to get into this. I don't want to get in at 37, 36. So this would be for me, a dip buying opportunity if it got all the way down into the 30s. But it doesn't have to happen. And I kind of don't think that's going to happen. But these are the moments where if this is the catalyst to bring a little bit of a drop, then, I think people would take advantage of that. Chime did IPO yesterday. They were up 40%. Market cap is just $3 billion below SoFi, 3640 on Chime. And the proposed IPO was 21. At one point, they got to like 49 or something. But right now, they're here at 3640 on the day. Robinhood right here, 71.75. Tesla, 312. NVIDIA, 142. And then Palantir, 133 in the pre-markets. Yeah, ASTS did have some good news this morning. We'll talk about that as well. Some new updates and deals they got. Now, my Twitter algorithm's giving me ASTS stuff. Ever since I did the podcast, they're like just showing me all these different ASTS pieces of headlines. Real quick before I get into the rest of the news. So last night, first of all, thank you to everyone who joined the stock draft. It was super, super fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. These were the 5 ETFs. Matt, Amit, Steve, Tanner, and Kris. The one that you guys voted for at the end was Steve. Or not Steve, Matt. Matt made it to the final round. So we did kind of like a bracket. In the first round, Tanner got out. Second round, Steve got out. Third round, I got out. Fourth round, Kris got out. Matt was the final winner. And so this is what we got. In terms of my picks, I somehow got away with Palantir, Hood, and Tesla, which was incredible. I got AMD, which I really like at this valuation. I got JPM, which I think is the best financial, especially with IPO season. Nebius, kind of borrowing conviction from the chat right here in terms of how much you guys understand them, because I don't understand them as well as you guys in the data center and computing space. Also, I think they're like 30% cash. So I like that as just a overall proxy to the semis. Grab, probably my most speculative, but I do think a year from now, they're trading at 50% cash. I have to assume they're doing something with that cash. And I will be wrong if they raised all this money and they have no plan to do with it. And I will find out probably in the next 6 to 7 months. But I would imagine they're going to do something with that cash. And as a result, I put that in the portfolio. Apple was the controversial one. And I mean, like, I don't know how that one's going to work out. I do think that, the buybacks are good. And I was, I'm seeing posts on X today that are like bullish Apple. And now I'm just like, Apple's a pretty good company. So it's like, I'm already feeling the confirmation bias and I'm trying to like justify to myself that it's good. Like, look at this headline. Apple took the top spot in China for iPhone sales in May, with global iPhone sales up 15% year over year across April and May, the strongest 2-month stretch since the pandemic. So now every time I see an Apple list, I'm like, well, it's Apple, it's still okay. And then we had Visa, which I think is going to be a great pick long-term. I mean, or a year from now, just in terms of transactions, it'll be a safe pick. And then Duolingo, I think, was my most controversial pick. Maybe there's a better one that I could have done, but I do think their growth, if I'm going for a growth stock portfolio and not just pure safety, they don't grow less than 40% across any of their metrics, DAUs, MEUs, revenue, messages, etc. So that's a little bit of a sleeper, I think. I just think it's kind of expensive because it's up 50% this year, and a year from now, will it be up another 50%? I don't know. But that is the portfolio I went with. Yeah, their free cash flow is insanity, bro. This is why when people look at Duolingo's stock price, they don't understand. They think it's just some language app. It's like, no, dude, this thing is a monster underneath the hood. Up 143% over the past 5 years, over the last year, 5 years, 243, and max 243%. Year to date, it's up 47. So I think that should help the portfolio at the end of the day. But I really like the format. I think it was fun. And I think we'll try to do it again with some other people and keep it going. But it was a really fun time. Hopefully people enjoyed it. And yeah, so Steve's built an Excel model. That Excel model is going to track the equal weighting of all of these stocks and their stock prices. And we'll probably go through it every Friday on the market close because he usually tends to come on and it'll show the updates. And then a year from now, midway through next year, we will see who ends up being the winner with the best 1-year return that we have. Steve's ETF is called Galactoid because Galactoid means milk. And so, to be honest, I gave him the name because he didn't want a name. It's going to show up next week with the Vision Pro headset on. Dude, I got to rep Apple now. To be fair, at the very end, there weren't that many good. Like, was I going to take Nike or Cheesecake over Apple? It's just like, I was like, all right, we're going to go with Apple. Also, the sentiment is so bad. I feel like maybe there's some contrariness here that would be effective. Ultimately, we're going to have to see. All right, Tessie. So we do have some updates on Tesla last night. I had no idea this happened, but it did happen late into the night. New Model S and new Model X, or I should say refresh of the Model S and Model X, are officially out. So there's the new one. We'll look at some pictures in a second. Let me know if you guys like these refreshes. Okay, so there you go. I mean, dude, to be honest, I don't really see the difference in a lot of them. I was actually kind of just like, I don't know. It was like cool. They have, a new version of it. I don't know if it really boosts demand or sales. This is what the new Model S looks like. They look good, but I don't know if, it seems like one of those iPhone S updates, right? Where you do some internal changes, but there's not really going to be any broader aesthetic looks. The Model Y refresh actually did have an aesthetic change from the previous Model Y. So yeah, to me, like, it's cool and it's great that Tesla's doing this. I don't think that's going to help Q2 numbers or Q3 numbers. I think there's some structural issues with demand right now for EVs. There's probably still some brand damage stuff. And overall, interest rates are high, and I don't think people want to finance a Tesla at these high rates. Now, if they bring back 0% APR across the board again, like they did in November, I think that would help demand, but that would hurt their margins a lot. Granted, if FSD is the story, they shouldn't care about margins, but the stock probably will still suffer as the margins take a bad hit. But yeah, it's cool, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. So that's what we got in the context of Tesla, Model S, Model Y. We got those new updates late last night. In terms of ASTS, real quick, so here is the headline. I believe they received some new funding here. Yeah, $568 million of funding. Visat has agreed to a binding term sheet with Legato Networks and AST to settle Emirates' opposition to Legato's planned restructuring. Under the conditions set forth in the term sheet, Visat anticipates receiving $568 million from Legato in fiscal year 2026. I don't even know what Legato is. I don't even know what this lawsuit is. I have no idea what's going on with this. It's so funny because when you enter it, like anyone who doesn't know about like Grab, they have no idea what's going on with like GoTo and this Indonesian acquisition, yada, yada. It's like, so you just, when you get into a stock, you have to like deal into this new situation that's going on. I have no idea about any of this stuff because I don't keep up with it that deeply, but that is one of the headlines that we got this morning. And apparently it's not the worst thing in the world for ASTS. And so that stock not doing the worst in the pre-market. Tesla right here at 313, NVIDIA 142. NVIDIA did get almost to 140 last night, but again, NVIDIA is not really getting hit as badly. It's maintaining its momentum. And after everything Jensen said at GTC, the markets were relatively impressed. Speaking of GTC, here's some clips that we didn't get to look at over the past couple of days, and then we'll talk about AMD. Here's Jensen talking about humanoid robots.
Humanoid robots are going to be a thing. We now know how to build these things, train these things, and operate these things. Humanoid robotics is going to potentially be one of the largest industries ever. And it requires companies who know how to manufacture things of extraordinary capabilities. This speaks of the European countries. So much of the world's industries are based here. I think this is going to be a giant opportunity.
Okay, speaking of humanoid robots, I will be hosting a humanoid roundtable today on the channel with a bunch of cool humanoid people. Cern Basher, Chris Camillo, Herbert, Derek, I think might make an appearance today on the roundtable, and Brett Adcock, CEO of Figure, is going to be on it as well. So what we're going to be doing tonight, it's going to be from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be watching that hour-long video that Figure put out, and we're just going to be talking in the background. So that hour-long video is going to be playing, which is that video of the Figure robot trying to do all the UPS packaging, or the packaging where they like takes one thing, puts it in another direction, flips it over, etc. And we'll just be talking in the background. So yeah, that should be fun. Chris Camillo should be there. Brett Adcock should join us, and we'll just be able to talk about the humanoid robotics sector. I'll try to ask some questions about NVIDIA, Tesla, what they think about Optimus, all that stuff. And that should be a fun one at 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. On YouTube? Yeah, on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube tonight. Figure still private? Yes, they are still private. So that should be fun. But the point is, Jensen is saying, hey, there's another S-curve that we are not anticipating, which is humanoid robots. And obviously it's in Jensen's best interest to make sure people care about this, because he's going to sell a lot of chips if humanoid robots rock the world. But we all kind of know, like, it's coming. Tesla says it's coming. Aptronic says it's coming. We got tons of Chinese companies already working on it. The question now is, can some of the American companies really hit scale like a Figure? And then can those robots do useful stuff? Because right now they can't do anything useful because the AI is not good enough. But if the AI is the worst it's ever been, and it's only going to get better and better, then eventually we should imagine the physical manifestation of that definitely helps. AMD, Sam Altman was at the AMD event yesterday. Here's what he had to say.
The work that AMD is doing that you're all talking about today is just incredible. The research and the hardware has got to go together. And so this level of capability coming from AMD should be incredible for us in the industry. We're very proud that the first product we launched was our API. We love enabling developers with amazing technology so that they can go build these incredible products and services. There's way more creativity in the world, way more good ideas than we'll ever have inside of OpenAI. But by putting out this platform, giving people access, making it really easy to use these very powerful models, people build amazing stuff, and the whole world gets to benefit. We are one player of many here, so we'll create products and we'll create a developer platform, and a lot of other people will do that too. But the world as a whole will transform economically with this. My favorite analogy from the history of technology is the transistor, which is obviously very relevant to AMD. But think about what that did for the economic output of the world, and maybe this can be that bigger. The work that
AMD had a pretty good event. I mean, they pretty much, Jose kind of previewed it for us, and his preview was pretty much what they showed off, which was all their new chips. We found out that XAI is using a lot of AMD chips, so that was a big deal. And we also found out that Meta, which we've already known as being a big buyer of AMD, is also buying their chips. Now, how did the street react to it? Benchmark, buy 170, Rosenblatt, buy 200, Roth Capital, buy 150, Evercore, buy 144. Both of them raised it from the 120s into the 150s, which is nice to see. And Lisa Su, essentially her core point yesterday was the future of AI is not going to be built on one company. There's going to be a lot of companies in this ecosystem. Obviously, Oracle, which is a pick I missed yesterday, but Oracle, Kris ended up getting that one. Oracle showed us their numbers, and those numbers were incredible. CrowdStrike, by the way, in the pre-market's down about 1%. Oracle, which was up 15% yesterday, is green. The fact that Oracle is green, the market really liked those numbers, dude. Really like those numbers. So, I mean, I'm happy that I got AMD in my portfolio because it feels like it's been lagging NVIDIA for a while. And it's not like the demand is only going to NVIDIA. A majority of it will, but it's not going to be just NVIDIA's market. Now, one thing Jensen did say yesterday is that they are officially done counting China numbers in their guidance. So he said verbatim, any China revenue we get will be a cherry on top. It is not going to be a part of our actual guidance. And so that's actually a good thing because that's going to reset market expectations. And if they do get any China revenue, if the export controls go away, then that should be a relatively strong thing for NVIDIA to report on their earnings. But as of now, they are saying to basically imagine that China revenue is non-existent. Again, they would have had 53 billion in Q2 if they had the China revenue, but they're going to do 45 instead because of the lack of China revenue. So maybe that comes back if we get a China deal, but as of now, the market will be pricing in something different. Wow, the market's going to open in 5 minutes. Dude, where is the time gone? Have I really been talking for 38 minutes? I feel like we barely... Dude, that is crazy. I did not know the market was opening in 5 minutes. All right, well, 5 minutes. Here we go. So let's go through some charts before these 5 minutes. Corporate insiders are selling shares at the fastest pace since November 2024. So this is a chart showing the insider ratio of buys and sells inside of the stock market. And corporations are selling at some of their highest levels since November 2024. Now, look, this is not the biggest deal in the world to me. I mean, insiders will always have to sell. They'll always have to take profits. It is what it is. However, it is one thing to know that fear and greed has officially hit greed. The VIX is up. It was up a lot more last night. It's chilling out right now. I think it's at around 21. And it might be time to take a little bit of profit. It's not the worst thing in the world, especially with equity prices being as high as they are. Like I love Robinhood, and I think this thing will see triple digits by the end of the year. But if it gets there, it's going to have a market cap that's, let's just do the math right here. Schwab, their market cap. Schwab's market cap is 160 billion. Robinhood is at 65. So Robinhood is almost inching up to 50% of their market cap. If Schwab stays flat and Robinhood gets to 100, you're talking about 70% of their market cap, which again, if their growth is awesome, I think that's fine. But that is, do I think they can easily do that? No, I don't think it's that easy. They're going to really have to show the growth to get there, which they have the chance to do that. I just don't know if they will. So my point is here, that's not saying you sell at 71, but that is saying maybe you don't deploy as aggressively. Now, I've been deploying aggressively because I have a heavy position already, and I don't feel that scared about averaging up. But that also doesn't mean you initiate new positions into a lot of these names that are that aggressive. That's why SoFi is attractive right here because it's barely moved. Google's attractive because it's barely moved. But a lot of the stocks that have moved do we really expect them to move as aggressively over the coming months? Not till the end of the year, but over the coming months. And we got our black swan last night that the market, you would expect needed to be able to stabilize a little bit, which also coincides with the insider selling ratio that we're seeing right here, currently right now as well. Remember when Hood 50 support 2025 was the goal? Yeah, I remember. And it looks like 50 support is here. The question is just, do we get $80 support? I don't know. S&P inclusion could be the wild card that really does give us a Palantir 2024 type of run on Hood. The question is just going to be when it happens. And if it does happen at a higher market cap, that's good because we get a lot of forced buying at a higher level, which I'm actually kind of happy that we didn't get into the S&P last time. But it's just when. And so my point is not that stocks are insanely expensive. My point is just at all-time highs, you might get a little bit of a pullback. And I don't think it would scare anyone if we pulled back 3 to 4%, even 5% on the S&P. And we haven't got it. Again, we looked at a stat yesterday. 10 out of the last 11 trading sessions on the S&P 500 have moved less than 0.6%. And in April, it was like 3% every other day. So the volatility has died down. Retail inflows have died down. The market's kind of calming down, which is fair. If we do get a bit of a pullback, I don't think anyone would be that surprised. But in my opinion, that would be a pretty dramatic buy the dip. Real quick, speaking of Robinhood as well, they did add 115,000 gold subscribers. This is why they could get to Schwab's market cap, or at least, close to that market cap over the coming years. Maybe even by the end of this year, if they keep up this growth. They gave away $1 million to people who signed up for gold. They gave each person $8.69. 1 million divided by 869 is 115,000 members. They collected the $50 subscription up front because you have to pay $50 for a year to keep this 869, which means they made $5.7 million and they only spent $1 million. That's a 570% return on their marketing. Again, this is the type of stuff that I get excited for when you invest in a growth stock, because ultimately you want to see that momentum continue and have, really innovative forms of marketing. All right, final chart I'm going to show before we open up the market. This is the aggregate financial asset allocation across households, mutual funds, pension funds, and foreign investors. This is from Goldman Sachs Global Research. Goes back to 1952 to currently today. Equities are at 53% of inflows. 53%. Debt is at 18% and cash is at 13%, which means investor allocation to equities is at an all-time high. Investor allocation to equities is at an all-time high. So in the midst of the insider selling, in the midst of fear and greed, in the midst of what happened last night, in the midst of volatility and the VIX index spiking 10%, you still have people that have allocated aggressively to equities. That doesn't mean that's going to continue to persist over the coming weeks, but that does mean that most people are betting on the stock market over every other asset class. And, so far it has worked out over the past couple of years. All right, here we go, folks. We are getting into the market open. It is Friday. It was a hard thing to see last night in terms of how this played out. We're going to see how it affects markets, how it affects the global economy, how it affects geopolitical instability over the coming weeks. But it is Friday, June 13th. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's also my dad's 65th birthday. I don't know if he's watching right now, but Dad, if you're watching, I love you. Happy 65. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it and see how the market reacts. S&P 500, 599. That is a green candle, folks. It was down 1%. Now it's down 0.7. Tesla, 313 to 315. Disney was at 115. It's now at 117. Robinhood, 71 to 73. Palantir, 132 to 134. SoFi, 1430 to 1454. Google, 171 to 173. Meta, 681 to 690. Folks, we got some green candles. We have absolutely got some green candles. Microsoft from 473 to 477. Palo Alto Networks, 192 to 196. Reddit was at 110. Now it's at 113. Bitcoin, although it went down last night, which kind of was proving it's not as much of a hedge in the geopolitical sense. Gold was going up. Bitcoin is green, up about 0.52%, 104.987 as we open. Archer still down 14% off that debt raise. GameStop is actually up a little bit. GameStop was down 20% yesterday. Rocket Lab is down 2%. So Rocket Lab not really recovering too much, but that one is down. Robinhood right here, 73.26. NVIDIA, 143. NVIDIA was at 141. Again, Palantir at 134. S&P 500 is at 599.7. Wow, S&P 0.5% away from going green. What about the Qs? The Qs are also probably 0.5%. Qs are actually down a little bit more. They're more tech heavy. That's down 1%. That dip is being bought, folks. And if you bought the dip already, then you were part of that. Oracle 203. Wow. All-time highs on Oracle. Market doesn't care. At least in the first minute, markets don't care. Now, it's only been 1 minute. We got a long day to go. But as of now, markets are, and this is really, really constructive for the people like a Tom Lee that's been saying this is the beginning of a bull market, because what you want to see in the beginning of a bull market is some geopolitical headwinds that inevitably happen in any bull market, and for the market to not freak out or panic or get scared and say, hey, I got a $2 dip on Robinhood. Okay, I'm so excited to get back into the market or to deploy more capital. I will buy that $2 dip, which isn't even a dip, but it's enough to get investor appetite to come back to the table. Palantir 135. All the defense contractors should be up today. Lockheed Martin. No, it's not. Wait, Lockheed. So it was up last night in the overnight markets. Lockheed Martin. Yeah, dude, it was at 494 overnight. Now it's at 473. So that one faded. That was up 10% for I guess a couple hours. Raytheon is up 1%. L3 Harris, that one is up about 1.2%. So all the defense contractors are not really getting the momentum that they were getting last night. Elf Beauty, that's up about 1%. Grabs at 460, was at 455. Salesforce at 262. They did get upgraded today to 375, I believe, by Oppenheimer. So you do have some parts of the street that are getting pretty bullish on Salesforce. Meta right here, 691. Amazon 211. That was at 208. Google was at 171, back to 174 again. PayPal trying to touch 74. SoFi trying to get back to 15, and Nvidia maybe getting back to 144. Where is ASTS? That one also should be. There you go. Wow. Yep. I don't know if I'm getting 32 on this one, folks. Space Mob almost touching 40. Almost touching 40. There you go. 6.7%. There was a big catalyst this morning for ASTS. Market does not care about Iran, Israel as a way to derail that momentum. Tesla back to 316. That one is doing the best along with Oracle. Yeah, I will not be buying ASTS today. Not today, but if you have it, congrats. Let me check their short float, by the way. ASTS, I think it's 15%. No, never mind. It's 28%. Okay, so that, I forgot. These guys are squeezy. These guys can get very squeezy very quickly if they have some catalyst. Palantir right here, 136 on Palantir. 136 on Palantir. There you go. There you go for Palantir. Oil, how's oil doing? Those stocks should be up, right? XLE, that's the energy ETF. That one is up about 1.5%. Exxon, that should be up a little bit. That's up 2.4%. Chevron is up about 1.4. Yeah, all of oil is up. Tesla 317, Robinhood 73.42, Nvidia 143, Palantir 136. One could argue that Palantir software, I don't know this, but I would imagine their software could be being used currently right now in this geopolitical conflict. And so the market from a perception standpoint could be thinking that Palantir is valuable here if this does escalate as well. Is Visa tanking or is Visa green? Why is Visa down 5%, bro? What? How is Visa down 5%? Why is this happening? I care about Visa now because I picked them in my fantasy draft. Why is Visa out of... Hold on, is MasterCard down? How does this affect Visa? Why is MasterCard down 5%? Can someone explain to me what the hell's happening? This got to be a joke, right? Like, why should Visa be down 5%? What does anything in Israel, Iran have to be doing with Visa? What? That's going to stop credit card transactions? What are we talking about? Why is that? There's got to be a headline, bro. Oh, the stable coin. You're right. No, that is a headline. That is a headline. You're right. Dude, I didn't even think about that last night. By the way, thank you to everyone saying happy birthday to my dad. I will make sure to let him know that you all wished him a happy birthday. Dude, I forgot the stable coin. Dude, so Coinbase introduced a 4% cashback credit card, which no credit card company has ever done across the board, but the 4% is in Bitcoin, which, look, it's not going to be attractive to everybody, but for a lot of people, if you're in the crypto industry, I mean, you can't, if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you can't tell me you're not getting that credit card. 4% cashback in Bitcoin. A lot of companies do cashback in Bitcoin, but no, I've never seen anyone do 4%. So that could also be something that is a catalyst for them. I forgot, dude, stable coins theoretically are a Circle, by the way, up 5%. They are an existential threat to Visa and MasterCard, not to the point where they will bankrupt them, but to the point where they will take away certain parts of market share, where, other elements of their market are going to be taken away as stablecoin reserves back up the reserves that the USDC that a lot of these stablecoin companies actually issue out over going through something like a Visa or a MasterCard in order to go through the payment payrolls or to the payment pipelines that Visa has set up. I mean, the reason I picked Visa is because they've set up an infrastructure to collect payments to the tune of 15 trillion every year. And I thought that would be relatively safe. I completely forgot. Stablecoins do pose a threat to that at a very sophisticated level. And it's not going to be a threat that happens overnight, but it will be a threat that could stop their perception as a market leader. ASTS up 9% right here. Well, Kris is going to be waking up pretty happy. Kris, are you in the chat? Kris, just put a smiley face if you're in the chat. Put a smiley face if you're in the chat. Let's see. Wow, ASTS 40.3. 40.3. Hoodie goes green. 74. Wow, this dip, dude. This was not a dip. And if this was a dip, it was a pre-market little dippy dip. Are you all... Dude, the space mob is crazy. I said, Kris, put a smiley face in the chat if you're here. And all of you space mob people are putting the smiley chat, or it's a smiley face, to represent Kris. That is hilarious, bro. Freaking space mob. Yeah, dude. So again, Matt's portfolio has Rocket Lab, Amazon, SoFi, ASTS, Berkshire, Celsius, Oscar, EOG, Bros, and Accelera. He was the winner last night from the audience vote. And I think his portfolio is doing the best as so far as of today. There you go. So where's Rocket Lab in the midst of this? Rocket Lab, 26. That one's up from 25, but still 26. Restoration Hardware did have earnings yesterday. I didn't look at them. These guys, whoa. What is this, dude? What numbers did they put out to get a 25% move? I couldn't do the market close yesterday because the internet broke. Not just my Wi-Fi, but Cloudflare, Google, everything was down. So a lot of websites, StreamYard wasn't working. So I didn't really keep up with the earnings. I know Adobe was relatively flat. Restoration Hardware. I'm going to try to get their numbers, but I guess it was good. I guess it was really good, dude. Up 25%. My goodness. That is green. Where is Adobe right here? Adobe down 6%. Classic Adobe. Adobe is Adobe. Tesla right here, 317. NVIDIA, 143. Palantir, 136. Robinhood, wow, 74.71. Not bad. Adobe, by the way, they beat by 2% on EPS, 506 versus 497. They beat by 1% on revenue, 5,873 billion versus 580. I guess guidance was not the best, and that's why that one is getting hit. S&P, are we going green, folks? Dude, if Moody's couldn't take us down, if the bond auction couldn't take us down, if tariffs couldn't take us down, if Iran-Israel doesn't take us down, that this is a resilient market. Wow, we are back to 6,000, folks. We are back to 6,000 on the S&P 500. Incredible. Robinhood's ripping. Are we ripping? We're trying to rip 74.75. Robinhood, speaking of crypto, they have a big crypto event coming up in June. Also, they're doing a product event next week. So you got two different catalysts coming up on top of the fact that they just had their May metrics and they were pretty good. So that's great for Robinhood. Palantir right here, 136. Grab's at 460. Google's at 174. Amazon's at 212. What do we buy, guys? Is there anything to even buy right here? Apple's down 198. Is there anything to even buy 10 minutes into the market open? Is there any deal? I don't really see any deals here. I don't see any deals. These are not dips. The time to buy was 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't know if these are any dips. ASTS still up 9.3%. 9.3% on the day. Okay, we got a quote from Trump. Trump said to the Wall Street Journal, the attack would be great for the market because Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Really? Okay, so he's saying the attack is good for the stock market because Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Interesting way to frame this. So Trump is saying the markets should be happy about the attack because that means it's going to give a less chance of Iran getting a nuke. And if Iran has a nuke, that's way worse for the markets, is basically his argument. Tesla right here, 317. NVIDIA, 142. Where are all the semis? Semis are all red across the board. SMCI is down, ASML is down, Broadcom, Dell, AMD, Micron. Steve did pick Micron last night. Marvell. Chris picked Marvell. I picked AMD. Tanner did get NVIDIA. All of them down about 1%. AIRO, Arrow is not public yet. So that goes public at I think 12 p.m. Again, the price is at $10. Maybe that opens up way higher, maybe lower, but that one did not go public yet. SoFi right here still at 1465. Tessie 316. Tesla got to like 312 at one point, and then Nvidia back up to 143. UNH. Let's see. 313. That's down a little bit. JP Morgan. That's another one I picked yesterday. 260. Okay, hold on. So let's make a watch list real quick. We'll call it Brick Gang ETF. So this is we'll keep track of this one. So I have Palantir, I have Hood, I have Tesla, I have AMD, I have JP Morgan, I have Grab, I have Apple, I have Nebius. So we'll go to this one every day and just see how that one's doing. I have Visa, which I didn't realize stablecoins was going to be bad for them, and I have Duolingo. All right, so these are the ones I'm looking at. Archer's down 14% based on the raise that they did as well. Where are some of the quantum names? So IONQ, that one is up. QBTS is down 2%, and then Rigetti is down 2% as well. So you got some of the quantum names that are a little bit red right here, but still not doing the worst. Am I buying the SBET dip? No, I don't think anyone should be doing this. This one you should be a little cautious of, down 65%. Little cautious of. What else do we see? Any idea why SoFi's down? SoFi's down with algorithms. I don't think it's because of, it's because of Iran, Israel, but it's not, that's not literally affecting them. Palantir 136.28. So Palantir's getting a little bit of a move. SoFi again, still down 14.69. And then Robinhood not really getting up to that 75 level currently right now. Where's Oscar? That's another one Matt picked as well. OSCR, that one's down about 1% on the day. 2% on quantum is basically flat. I agree. It's basically flat. Meta's green. Dude, how did you guys let me pick Visa? You guys really let me pick Visa, dude? Granted, I didn't. Dude, I thought I sounded so good. I was like, good. I have a good one. I have a sleeper. No one's going to pick this one. This one is going to be safe. It's going to grow. And then I so confidently said Visa, baby, without not realizing that stable coins are a thing. Meta goes green. Steve has Meta. Steve got to pick Meta. I went with Tesla as my Mag 7. So hopefully a year from now, Tesla is going to help out. Hims right here, 57. That one's flat on the day, but rising from that 52, 53 level as well. What do you think of buying a Palantir covered call 1 year out at these levels? So remember, you're selling a covered call. You're not buying it. I wouldn't do 1 year out. You tend to do them weekly or monthly just because you don't know what could happen in a year. So you want to manage the position. But in a year, if you don't think Palantir is going to be 200 or something, or 180 or whatever it is, then you can obviously sell that call. But I usually keep the calls minimum a month out, or minimum a week, maximum a month, just because you want to be able to monitor it. Palantir right here, not at 137, about 10 cents away. Let me see the resistance there. You do have a nice green candle. Kind of makes sense how the market would be perceiving this one as well. Palantir 137 is 24,000 shares. 24,000 shares. Dude, someone tweeted last night. This tweet went pretty viral. They were like, Iran's about to figure out why Palantir trades at 300 times sales. I was like, yo, that was kind of wild, bro. That tweet got replicated so many times. I was like, oh boy. That was wild. But I mean, the market might end up perceiving Palantir as being something that's really important in this one right now. Shelly, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it, Shelly. Thank you for being here. Shelly, I have a friend, one of my best friends from college. Her name is Sherry. So your name reminds me of Sherry. Sherry, I don't know if you're watching this, but she's getting married in like a month and a half. So shout out to Sherry. Nick B Investing, thank you again for the next 5 gifted memberships. You've been given like 5 gifted a day. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the 5 of you that got a membership from Nick. Appreciate you, brother. And then Brian, thank you for becoming a channel member as well. Speaking of Palantir, we are going to have Chad on the show today at around 11 a.m. We're going to have Chad on the show today at around 11 a.m. Eastern. And he will be on to talk about what we should have talked about yesterday, but I couldn't go live because the internet was broken, which is MMDN, their multimodal domain stuff, that commercial I saw inside of the airport. And then he commented on my post that he wants to come on live and talk about it because I didn't really understand what the point of what they were saying, any model, any compute, all this stuff. So he's going to break all of that down today at around 11 a.m. And we'll get to talk to him. Palantir 137. There you go. 137. There you go. 137.20. So we broke through those 25,000 shares really easily. 138. 138 is 19,000 shares, which also is not an aggressive wall. Not an aggressive wall. Rocket Lab goes green. Rocket Lab very close to going green right here. 26.38. That was down at 25.30. And that one is now green. Stop lying. You have no other friends other than us. Okay. I do have friends. Okay. I Steve, Kris, and then the chat, you know, Matt, Tanner, those are my friends. No, but to be honest, I was on the phone with Sherry like, it was like a week ago, like an hour, just catching up with her. And yeah, dude, she's getting married. So very, very, very cool for her. What else? Okay, so Palantir 130. Wow, dude, we're 27 cents away. We are 27 cents away. 138, folks. Folks, again, whenever we get this close, it tends to break through. At least on Palantir, whenever we get this close, 20, 30 cents away, it tends to break through. Now we got to see. We got to see. The friends are the community. That's facts. The friends are the community. I've met a lot of you guys in person, you know, and I have become friends with you guys. So, and a lot of you guys have met each other in person, which is super cool. I want a meetup. I want to have a meetup where I play Cupid for a guy and a girl, and literally your like love story is that you guys met at a stock market investing a YouTube meetup. Like that needs to happen one day. We got to figure out how we can make that happen. But I think inevitably over the next couple of years, that's going to happen somehow. AMD was the AMD event was yesterday. The AMD event was yesterday. AMD down 2%, not really reacting too much to the event, but Lisa Su was awesome. She crushed it. And overall, their earnings should reflect over the long term. Grab right here below 460. Google right here, 173. Do we buy Google? Is that the buy today? Down 1%. I mean, Google is still cheap, right? Like we all know Google's cheap. Do we buy that before earnings? Let's see. Is ASTS still running? Palantir. Oh, there it goes. Dude, I leave Palantir for 2 seconds. There you go. 138 breaking through. You know it's better than 138, folks. You know it's better. 139, 28,000 shares. Dude, these dollars don't have any walls against them. These $1 increments do not have any walls against them. That's good. That's bullish, dude. Goodness, 138.22. I think we go higher. By the way, Chad just texted me. He says he's going to come on at 10:30. He's going to come on at 10:30 because he has a meeting at 11. So he'll be on at 10:30. So 10:30 to 11, he'll be on, and we can talk from there. Okay, 138.12. 138.12. The call and put it in love connection by Amit. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's fair. Does she want 140 today, folks? Does she want 140? By the way, I don't know if anyone saw this yesterday. I think it was towards the end of the market open, so a lot of you guys probably missed it. But Palantir got a hell of an upgrade by Loop Capital to 155, and they wrote a lot of stuff. They wrote a lot. This is a long thing to read, so I'll link it right here. But essentially, the one quote I'll highlight is Palantir is an early software leader in enterprise AI, which we believe is at a tipping point as small scale pilots move into production as AI use cases grow exponentially across all industries. More tactically, we don't recommend pushing in all the chips here, but instead suggest establishing starter positions of Palantir and then adding aggressively on pullbacks. I'll put the link in the chat for those who want to read the entire note they put out. But yeah, Loop Capital, they met with management last week, and they said, hey, after this meeting, we are pretty confident that this is the name in enterprise AI that is going to win. Okay, what else we got? 137.82, back down from 138. Nvidia right here, 143. Let's look at some of Tanner's picks. So Nvidia, Nubank. You know, I should make an ETF on Legend for everyone and just go to their picks every day so we can look at all their picks together. I'm going to set that up tonight. That's actually going to be good. Every single day we can look at it. Nubank is down on the day. By the way, Tanner speaking of Cupid, bro, you'd think Tanner would pick SoFi. He had 3 chances. ServiceNow, that's one of his picks. That's down 1%. And then Nubank is also down a little bit on the day. And then Melly is another one of his picks. You'd think he would pick SoFi, and he let Matt get away with SoFi. Say whatever you want about my list. Say whatever you want to get about my list. But I am loyal. I am freaking loyal. And not only am I loyal, Tesla, by the way, is green. I think my loyalty will be rewarded with Tesla and Palantir. I really do. I know it's going to be a tough year for them over the next 365 days because they've already done so well, basically at all-time highs, both of them. And SoFi's not. So I thought SoFi was a no-brainer for him because it hasn't made a big move. But I'm loyal. And so I like my my Tesla, my hood and my Palantir. And then I got Tesla. Tesla 319, Palantir 137.98, back to 138, Robin at 74.22, and then Nvidia 143, PayPal. Steve got PayPal 72.92 currently right now. You picked AMD over Grab. Okay, but I know no one was going to pick Grab. Like none of them believe in Grab. So I knew outside of Chris, but Chris doesn't, I don't think Chris cares about it that much as me. So I knew I would have time to pick Grab. Tanner should have known that SoFi is like, look, if we get rate cuts and SoFi's barely made a move, I think SoFi gets to 20. Like by next year, this time, I think SoFi is $20 minimum. Like, I don't think that's that crazy. So that's like a no risk. It's a no brainer choice. And he loves SoFi. And he went with freaking Nubank. And I was like, okay. Obviously we can see, this guy's not faithful in his relationship, but like, goodness, dude. Palantir 138.15, Robinhood 74.20. That's probably why you guys kicked him out of the first round, bro. He lost on the first round of voting. And look, he has a good one. His list is not bad. Like, look at his list. It's not a bad list. But I think you guys were just punishing him for not taking SoFi. Nick says, I think downside with SoFi is capped, but don't think they'll ever blow up. Yeah, I don't think they're going to have to like go to 40 or something, but I do think the downside. Same thing with Grab. I think the downside at 450. I mean, is it really going back to $4? If it is, all right. It wants to trade at 70% cash, be my guest, but I do think the downside is a bit more limited. Tesla right here, just going red after going at 319, and then Palantir still holding 138.22. Again, resistance at 139 on Palantir is 23,000 shares. 23,000 shares for Palantir. By the way, this is another reason why Nvidia is going to blow up. Look at this picture that's going viral. A guy on the subway this morning was talking to ChatGPT like it's his girlfriend. Look at that, bro. Look at this. ChatGPT 4.0. This is like, dude, this is all Nvidia, baby. This is all Nvidia. All of it. So Nvidia's not slowing down at all. Nvidia right here, 143, and then Palantir 137. Where's Nebius? Oh, I gotta care about this one now too. Nebius. Goodness, dude. Why is down 4%? Oh my gosh. Dude, I just don't want to come in last on my ETF, bro. Just don't like. I would be so happy if Steve came in last because Steve was so cocky, and he's probably not going to come in last because he has a really good ETF. Like I can't say Steve's picks are bad. I have the best chance of coming in last because mine is rather speculative in certain areas, although it's backed by some safety. If you think Apple is going to be safe over the next year, but if Palantir and Hood just keep coming through for me, then that should help, and then hopefully Tesla as well. Where's Chime? So this is Chime's first day of being public after the IPO. Chime down 4%. So Chime's getting a little bit of a hit right here. Arrow goes IPO, I think at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Oh, yeah, true. We did say it would be based on Monday 4 p.m. prices, not today or yesterday, because we did say we want to give a little bit of the market time to recover from the Israel-Iran stuff. So we did say it would start from Monday closing prices. So technically, yeah, we'll see Monday for when it actually starts. Okay, what else? What else do we see? Let me see if we have some headlines. If we have any updates on this Iran stuff, let's see. We talked about the Trump tweet. U.S. shifts military resources in the Middle East in response to possible Iran retaliation. U.S. energy stocks jump on oil prices. We talked about that. We talked about what Trump said to the Wall Street Journal. Bank of America sees path for gold to rally to 4,000 over the next 12 months. Dude, usually when they're calling for a new all-time high on gold, that tends to be when stocks are attractively priced. Gold right here up about 1.75%. I mean, if this thing blows over, this is not the catalyst for gold that the markets might think it is. Now, if it escalates, sure, and it could escalate over the coming weeks, but that doesn't mean it's going to be, one of those things that lasts for a long time. NVIDIA right here, 142.90. So 1448. CoreWeave is flat on the day. On a day like this, that's not bad. VIX also is up 12% at 20. It's not up as much as it was last night. AppLovin down about 1%. Tanner has AppLovin. DoorDash 216. Duolingo 475. Red Cat's up 5%. Home Depot's flat. Uber's flat. And Walmart is slightly up on the day. Oh, where's Bitcoin? I think we're still at 104. 104. All right. Who bought anything so far this morning? Even in the pre-markets or right now? Who bought? Who bought anything? Who bought anything? So again, we're using Monday's prices for the challenge. So if Visa recovers 5% by Monday, then we'll use the Visa price on Monday. If not, we'll use this price. So yeah, Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, that's when we're going to check the actual prices for the Excel model to keep it up 1 year from now. Okay, I see some Grab, I see some Nvidias, I see some Metas, I see some Lilly, ASTS. Are we still mooning on that one? ASTS is not up as much as it was, but it's green. June bought some Rocket Lab at 25.46. I think that's the bottom this morning on Rocket Lab. Nebius. Again, we're only 20 minutes into it, dude. Over the next coming hours, it is a Friday. You have options expiring. You could have tons of things happening today that could go red, especially, when Iran actually retaliates in a more meaningful way. That could also be something that is a catalyst as well. Misty, I have 500 shares of Misty now. I have 500 shares of Misty, so that's my Misty position. Eric bought some Archer today. AMD. Yeah, I know Visa's down. I see Visa down 5% because of stable coins. GameStop right here, 22.82. Where's Archer? Is it still down 14? It's down 15%, dude. What are the puts like on Archer? Maybe we sell some puts on Archer, dude. What are the $7 puts paying us? Archer next week, $7. No, they're not giving us any. We would have to do, the put premiums are not that good. They're not that good. Maybe a month out. I don't know if I want to type the capital for a month. Speaking of puts, Brandon, thank you for the $5 super chat. Can you put together a quick cash secured put scenario on wanting to buy ASTS but not at 40 shares? Sure. So let's do that. So ASTS, first of all, today is not the day I would sell the put because again, the stock is green. Remember, when you're selling a put, you need the stock. You want the stock to go down because you're selling insurance to the market. People buy insurance when things are bad. That's why people buy puts, right? They buy puts to hedge their positions in case bad things happen. So if you had puts across the entire market today and the markets were relatively red, even though it's recovering right now, those puts would be up today. If you had covered calls, by the way, your covered calls are printing as well. This is why I continue to believe this is a covered call market. So ASTS is up 7%. So the premium that people are going to be willing to pay for insurance is not high because things aren't bad in ASTS, at least today. So if I wanted to sell a put, let's say at July 18th, 1 month out, I didn't want to buy it at $40, but I wanted to buy it at, let's say 32. The market is paying me $1.44 right now, $1.44. So that means I take 32 times 100 because I have to buy 100 shares, contractually obligated to buy 100 shares. That's 3,200 in collateral. I have to lock up 3,200 inside of my brokerage. And then I get $1.44 times 100 shares. That's $144. So 144 divided by 3,200, you would get 4.5% on your money on that 3,200. If ASTS falls to 32, which means technically you'd be buying ASTS not at 32, but at 32 minus 144, because you already got that as premium, that's $30.56, which is essentially a 23% decline from now. 23% decline. S&P, are we green? S&P, a little green, but still down on the day. Still down on the day. We do have a bit of a green candle, but that's still down about 1%. So, the point right here is that if you want to buy ASTS at $32, you can sell the put. And by selling the put, you don't have to buy today. If it falls to 32, then you'd be forced to buy it. If it stays above 32, then you keep that $1.44, which is again, a 4.5% return on your money in 1 month. Not a lot of places that I know of, not a lot of businesses where you can make 4% on your money in 1 month, 30 days. And the worst case scenario is that you have to buy the stock 25% down from the current price, which you already want to buy. You just don't want to buy it at these prices. So that would be kind of how that example kind of plays out. Michigan consumer sentiment. I forgot. We have that. Okay. Let's see. Again, Michigan consumer, it's a little bit skewed because they don't really survey a lot of people, but let's see what it looks like. That's probably why we have a little bit of candle on the market. What is it? Sentiment rises to 60.5 versus 53.6. That's good. Inflation expectations fall to 5.1 versus 6.6. That's good. That's a big beat. That's a big beat. That is not a small beat at all. That is really good. So 53.6 versus 60 on the consumer sentiment, or sorry, 60 versus 53. And then the inflation expectation is down from 6.7 to 5.1. That's a really good beat, dude. Why are we getting a red candle on the S&P right there? Yeah, look at that. 6,000 to 598. That's something else going on. That's not consumer sentiments. I mean, I don't think we're going to have 5% inflation regardless, but at least that's down from like, remember it was 7.3 4 weeks ago. So I think that is a little weird that sentiment's not really affecting it right now. Oracle all-time highs? Oracle, wow, 205, dude. Congrats to whoever bought Oracle at 170 right before earnings, or in April at 125, 130. I mean, dude, what a story. And it deserves it. This is not hype. This is not meme. This is not overvalued. I mean, you could argue the valuation is aggressive, but it's definitely not people piling in simply because they did a convertible note offering or whatever. Like, this is just pure growth in numbers. Pure growth in numbers. That's what's helping them right now. So Oracle right here is rating. Paul, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you, Paul. Thank you for being here. And thank you for becoming a channel member. All right, so Michigan consumer sentiment was pretty good. Those results were positive. Let's get some more updates on Israel and Iran, and then we'll try to get some more data on the specifics of consumer sentiment. But so far, those numbers, not bad at all, even if the market is not reacting as positively. She's muted. She's muted. Hold on. It's because of, okay, hold on. Just been doing this 3 years, folks. Been doing this 3 years. All right, here we go.
The administration knew about Israel's plans to attack Iran before they happened. He also called the attacks very successful, said that he had spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday, and Netanyahu's office now says the two men do plan to speak again today. All of those comments coming after the president earlier this morning posted that he had given Iran chance after chance to make a deal, but that they just couldn't get it done. He says Iran now has perhaps a second chance, warning them to make a deal now, he says, before there is nothing left. So standing very closely aligned with Israel here, even after the White House first emphasized overnight that Israel was acting unilaterally and that the U.S. was not involved in these initial attacks. Iran clearly seeing no daylight between the U.S. and Israel, saying that the attack would not have been possible without U.S. coordination and that the U.S. should be responsible then for the consequences of its actions.
So Iran's blaming the U.S. They're not buying this whole thing of them saying, oh, this was Israel, this was not us. Iran is saying, hey, there's no way they attacked without you guys giving them the green light. Trump is praising the attacks this morning, but he's also denying that they gave them the green light, trying to kind of play both sides, which makes sense. The dude's trying to negotiate an entire nuclear deal. So now it's up to Iran to see how they're going to respond and if it's going to be something that actually requires a further response from Israel or the U.S.
And so as a result, the U.S. now bracing for retaliation in the region while warning Iran against it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. And on Capitol Hill, hearing similarly, House Speaker Mike Johnson saying this morning that Israel was clearly within its right to defend itself and that, quote, Iran will face grave consequences if it responds by unjustifiably targeting U.S. interests. The U.S. now on high alert in the region, calling for voluntary departures for non-essential staff earlier this week. And the AP just in the last few minutes now reporting that the U.S. is shifting military resources around in the region in response to this idea of potential retaliation, guys, as soon as later today.
Megan, to the extent that there had always been an expectation if there was an attack on Iran, it might be led by the U.S. and assisted by Israel, or at the very least in significant coordination ahead of time. Do we know why the Israelis chose now to undertake this attack?
They say that there are a few reasons. They think that this was an existential crisis for them and that it was becoming to the point where Iran clearly did not seem to be getting any closer to a deal with the U.S. There are some reports that some of its uranium enrichment that the U.S. might have been agreeing to or likely to agree to in a deal was going further than Israel could really accept. There were also international bodies that just this week began to warn about Iran's nuclear capabilities and how close they were getting to the ability to develop a nuclear weapon. So a lot of things there that Israel said it had to happen now, but it does seem like it came for the U.S. side. That's what we're still parsing here between the different reactions so far. But it seems like the U.S. was still trying to pursue these negotiated talks before this type of approach was taken. That's sort of the fine line here. And we're still waiting to hear more from the White House on that.
Palantir still green right here. Wow, Oracle. It is not. Oracle's not stopping. It is just not stopping. 206.84 on Oracle. That's up 3% of the day. Palantir right back to, it was just at 137. Now it's at 136.65, up 1%. We did hit 138.50 today, 138.49. But that one is green along with Oracle. Wow, dude. And again, it goes to show you how good those numbers are, that everything's still kind of red, even though it's recovering. But Oracle is like just going higher. It was up 15% yesterday. It's up another 4% today. People did not care of anything geopolitically to stop this from maintaining momentum. Is this an all-time high? I think this is an all-time high for Oracle. Oracle stock, this stock has in the past, all-time high. There you go. Look at that chart, dude. Look at that chart. 206.70, all-time high. Amazing. Amazing. Restoration Hardware, that stock is up 16%. It was up 24% at one point. And then Adobe, I think that one's still down. That one's down 7%. I didn't go through all the Adobe numbers. I know they had a modest beat on the top and the bottom. My bear case on Adobe is that this is not a product that is going to thrive in the age of AI like they say it's going to thrive. And there's a lot of cheaper alternatives. I think a ChatGPT could, or an OpenAI and Sora and Google VO, all these models that deal with video can meaningfully change the way we think about Adobe. Adobe's for professionals that pay $30 a month that do video editing, all this stuff, and some of them pay a lot more than $30 a month. But for the average person that wants to make a funny meme video, they're going to use an AI model, and they're not going to go to Adobe to do that. They're going to go to Google, they're going to GPT, Grok, etc. So I don't know what the AI opportunity is for them, because any of these models, you're going to be able to type in "girl on a horse," and a girl on a horse is going to pop up. Like, that is not going to be something special that Adobe has. So I'm not really sure where the growth sector is coming from here. Shout out to Farzad in the chat. Dude, me and Farzad were doing a podcast yesterday, and then StreamYard broke in the middle of it. And it was a good discussion, bro. I think you got to save most of the hour we did, but it was a good discussion. It'll be out on his channel soon. And we talked about a bunch of things. So, but yeah, the internet literally broke in the middle of us having that conversation. We recovered it. All right, bet. It's a good one. I think it's a good one. It will be a good one. But in the middle of it, bro, it's just like network error. And we were going to go for like another hour, but the internet broke. And then I didn't know what to do with myself yesterday, bro, because I couldn't do the market close. Like, literally, I didn't know what the purpose of life was if I couldn't see red or green candles going up or down. And like, I just went outside and I went for a walk and I just started like looking at the sky. And I was like, so what's the point of all this? Like, why am I on this planet exactly? It was really an existential crisis last night. Like, it really was. And I tried. People were saying I was being lazy. Dude, I tried every other website. Everything was broken. I wasn't being lazy, okay? I signed up for like 3 other websites. All of them didn't work. And I was like, all right, at some point, I can't keep trying to force it, you know? But I had a little bit of an existential crisis. And it was hot as hell. It was like 85 degrees yesterday. I'm walking in the intense heat, just like wondering like why I'm not analyzing the markets at the moment. It was tough. It was definitely tough. Pinterest right here, 33.65. That's down 1%. Enphase is up a little bit, 45. Enphase probably is green because oil prices are up. And then HIMS right here still down about 2% right now. Trump and Netanyahu are expected to speak very soon today. And then we do have a statement from Saudi Arabia. All right, we have a statement right here from Saudi Arabia, and we have a statement from China. Let's take a look at this.
The UK Prime Minister posting, the reports of these strikes are concerning, and we urge all parties to step back and reduce tensions urgently. Escalation serves no one in the region. Stability in the Middle East must be the priority, and we are engaging partners to de-escalate. Now is the time for restraint, calm, and a return to diplomacy, proving why Europe doesn't necessarily have a seat at the table. As for the Chinese, the foreign ministry saying that they're highly concerned about Israel's attacks on Iran, deeply worried about the potential serious consequences of these actions, and opposes any violation of Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, opposes actions that escalate tensions and expand the conflict. That's when we start to worry about how the sort of battle lines are being drawn around the world if China would support Iran, if there's some sort of broader confrontation from the U.S. Saudi Arabia also, people are, in the markets, we're always looking to see where they stand publicly, at least. The foreign minister is saying His Highness expresses the kingdom's condemnation of the blatant Israeli aggression against the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran. His Highness affirmed the kingdom's rejection of the use of force and stressed the importance of dialogue to address disputes.
Now, again, Saudi Arabia is not the biggest fan of Iran. So we have to remember, yes, he's going to condemn what Israel's doing because he needs to keep peace in the Middle East and, play both sides. But he also is not the biggest fan of Iran. I don't think he wanted Israel to do this, but it's not like, he's like on the Iranian side.
His Highness also emphasizes that the Israeli attack undermines efforts aimed at de-escalation and reaching diplomatic solutions. So there's a lot of sort of nations here calling for diplomatic resolution, which is clearly something President Trump was trying, but the Iranians rejected that. As for the market impact, where you look first, guys, we've been talking it. Obviously, crude oil, WTI, and Brent spiking, although coming off the highs. The U.S. dollar is strengthening against other major currencies. Again, not a huge move right now. It's up 0.4, and as Santoli said earlier, was due for a bounce because.
All right, folks, we are getting some red candles. SoFi down 5% on the day. Tesla goes red. Palantir still green, but it is down from 138. Robinhood 75 to 72. So about 40 minutes in, market starting to maybe get a little bit more shaky. Meta right here was green, back down. Amazon's 210. Google holding up nicely at 174. That one's flat. Palo Alto's down 0.35. Again, not crazy red candles, but it's not like it's continuing to inch higher. Apple, of course, why not? Down 2%. I'm gonna have to defend Apple for the next year somehow, bro. Apple right here down 1.5. Yeah, a little bit of a 10 a.m. slam right here. SMCI down 3%. Reddit 115, and then Lilly 816 as well. That one's slightly green right now. Hoodie's going down as well. Where's VG? Wow, VG's up. Well, natural gas. That makes sense. There you go. VG. Dude. Shout out to VG, bro. Good pick by Kris. Good pick by the community. Happy everyone got to see that DD. And there you go. Yeah, there he is in the chat. 7 to 17. Not bad. 7 to 17. Covered calls are winning again. Dude, this is, again, this is a covered call market, dude. You'd have random things that happen. Stocks are already at all-time highs. It's not crazy to have some covered calls. Even if your covered calls are 5 to 10% underwater, like you can roll and navigate them. On a day like this, if you were underwater on your covered call, today is the day where you can either buy it back, pay a little bit of a debit, take a little bit of loss, or roll for a credit that is way bigger of a credit than you could have got over the past couple of days, maybe the past couple of weeks, because you're getting a little bit of a pullback here. So the goal with the calls is just to be patient, right? And if you get it on a stock where it just flies away from you, then it is what it is. You have to accept it. But a lot of times, even in a bull market, that doesn't always happen, because there are things that take the market down a bit. And that's what we're seeing, at least today, even though it's not that aggressive. Like we're down 1% on the S&P. I was like, it is what we're down 1%. Like I think all of us were expecting at least some type of pullback. And I don't even know if you want to say 1% is a pullback. 597 right here on the S&P. Defense stocks are moving a little bit right now. VG is green. EOG, Matt picked this one as well. That one is up 2.6 along with all the other oil and gas companies. The Q's right here, 527, that's down 1%. Amit, why can't I set up stop losses on Robinhood? You can. I've done it before. You have to go through creating a limit order, at least on mobile. I don't really use Legend to trade, so I don't know how to do it on Legend, but you go to create a limit order and then you just put in your price, and then right there it gives you an option for a stop loss. Structure called for a 5% dip on the S&P. Yeah, dude, I would not be surprised if we get back to 57, 5,800, or that would be like 5,500 on the S&P. I feel like that would be pretty normal. The question is why, right? Because again, based on all the macro data we've been looking at every single day, also based on the fact I mean, this is probably the biggest reason it's going to be hard for the S&P to get a 5% dip without like a fundamental reason. I mean, look at this, bro. Look how Tom Lee's dressed. Look at this, bro. You think we're dipping 5% with Tom Lee looking like that? Come on, bro. Give me a break. Give me a break. Look at Mr. Tom Lee, bro. Look at this guy. This guy looks like a pimp. Look at this. Like, look at this. I mean, we're not going down 5%. But if we do, that same guy is going to get on CNBC, wear his little suit and tie, and be like, it's time to buy the dip. I mean, even today, he'll probably have a Friday spot this morning or later in the day. And I'll probably say to buy a dip. But no, my broader point is Tom Lee's been making a really good argument over the past couple of weeks, which is that there are so many catalysts that this market is that is constructing its bets on, and that the hedge funds, quite frankly, are unloading their hedges because they need to get exposure because they missed it in March and April. That's well documented. And if we do, let's say a worst case scenario, we go back to 5,500 on the S&P. You don't think these hedge funds that missed a 20% retracement aren't going to take advantage of that? What, they're going to wait for 10%? Like, there would have to be some fundamental reason for us to see a 10% drop. And if you get halfway there with a 5% drop, even if there's not a fundamental reason, that is a dip that gets bought easily. So I don't think anyone should be afraid of buying the dip, but also that doesn't mean you have to go super aggressive on some of these stocks that are trading at all-time highs. But we are seeing some momentum. UNH, this one also, Kris was talking about at 300. We're at 314 on this one. So UNH also not doing that bad. We got a new clip right here from Jamie Dimon about Palantir. It's a 20-second clip. Here's what he said at a conference yesterday.
And in 2012, we first used Palantir. And I remember sitting down with the Palantir people and going through this AI thing, saying, holy Christ, this is unbelievable. So we, right after that, started our own department. And we're probably one of the few companies. And then in 2014, and maybe 7 years ago, we hired a woman called Manuela Velosa, who ran machine learning at Carnegie Mellon. And in 2012, we first used.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool endorsement. By the way, the Databricks CEO was on the stage when he was making that statement. So it's a nice statement that he's making while the Databricks CEO is right there. Speaking of the Databricks CEO, this guy is not confirming when they will go public, but he did say yesterday they are definitely going public. So he said similar to Palmer Luckey, we are absolutely going public, but I can't tell you when. I think when they go public in this market, they could easily get $100 billion valuation. Their last funding round was at $62 billion. It would not be crazy to see them get to 100. I think they're growing at like 50 or 60% right now organically. Now, granted, do they deserve 100 billion? I don't know. But I could definitely see that happening. And I think the IPO, if they raised at 60, the IPO has got to be at like 80, 90, if not 100, to be honest. So, I mean, the IPO might be 100 right out the gate. And we're going to see how much demand it is for that stock as well. Arrow, again, will be IPOing today. I requested 250 shares. Did Robin tell me my allocation yet? Let's see. I know the price is at $10. Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have the allocation yet, but this one later throughout the day, we will see. I don't think I'll be live when it goes public. I might be, but if I'm not, we'll talk about it on the close as well. And again, I'm just like, hey, look, if it pumps like crazy, I'm probably going to sell it. I really got to see what it looks like. I kind of don't expect a crazy pump though, bro. I don't know. Like on a day like this, I know we're recovering a little bit, but still, I don't know if we get a massive pump, but maybe we do. It's a little bit of a bet for me, but we're going to see if the drone thesis the market cares enough about on IPO day.
Because it's been very oversold and almost at a 3-year low. Gold higher, Bitcoin lower, just kind of an interesting dynamic there if you're looking for where people go immediately for safety right now. But again, not an extreme move. And then treasuries. We look at treasuries because they're selling off. And during sort of extreme periods of uncertainty and a rush to safety, you see buying of treasuries. Is it a sign that treasuries are no longer safe havens? Probably not, because as I mentioned earlier, you're not seeing extreme buying of any global bonds. It's not like, Swiss bonds are proving a safe haven or Japanese bonds right now. Certainly not European bonds. So we'll continue to monitor the fallout. But David, when you ask about the equity market reaction not being as sharp or severe as you might have thought, the bond market told you that it wasn't necessarily an extreme fear moment right now, whether it's because it looks contained to the region or we don't necessarily know what's going to happen next, whatever it is. That's the
Right.
market reaction.
Although, to your point, we don't know
We
what's
don't
going to
know.
happen
We have no
next.
idea.
And so, yeah, sometimes you would expect the reaction to be more severe, perhaps because of that, given it raises obviously a lot more uncertainty.
I mean,
Adobe's still down right here. Again, the UK, China, and Saudi Arabia have come out calling for more diplomacy. So we've had a lot of public statements already about kind of how the world thinks they should be navigating. Adobe's still down 6. That one's getting hit mainly from earnings. Nvidia down about 2. Palantir down 135, and then Hoodie 72.41. Okay, everyone put in the chat how much you're down today. I am down $7,800 now. Which is quite a reversal. Last night it was 36,000. Last night it was 36,000. So we did get a bit of a reversal. And for those asking when they're going to know how many shares they get of Arrow, Robinhood will give a notification if you're doing it on Hood, probably in like 30 minutes to an hour. And it'll tell you how many shares you get in the allocation. Wow, a lot of you guys are green. Elaine's up 29K. Mike's down 20K. Yeah, I mean, Fabio's down 5,000. Jake's down 9. Not that aggressive. Nisha and Nihit down 2,800. Up due to the dollar and the euro. That makes sense with foreign exchange. Yeah, dude, it's not that bad, right? A couple percentage points across the board. It's negligible. Like, even last night, dude, when all the news was breaking, like, now that I've been through this, like, I would say 4 or 5 times over the past couple of years, like, it's big in the moment, and you feel it's big in the moment, and then this is really where experience does matter. You like me from 5 years ago would have been selling stuff and been scared and all this stuff, and it's like, that's just not how this stuff plays out. It's just not. Like you really got to take a long-term view when stuff like this breaks out, and you got to ask yourself: is this worst case scenario? Is this World War III? Is this nuclear war? Or are these a bunch of humans that are angry and physically attacking each other, but inevitably will not get into a full-scale war? And it tends to be the latter more often than not. And so you kind of just hold. And if anything gets attractive, you take advantage of that dip. Action Clips is down 230,000. Or how are you down 230,000, bro? What are you in GameStop? 230 grand, dude. Goodness, GameStop's green, so you can't be that. Yeah, you got to ignore the headlines here, because the media also they want to paint an ugly story because it gets attention and all that stuff. And I think it should be analyzed 100%. Like, people should analyze it. But does it mean it's the worst thing in the world? I mean, geopolitically, it tends not to be. Like, the reason 2022 was bad was not because of Russia, Ukraine. That exacerbated the fact that we were raising interest rates to the highest level in 40 years. That is why 2022 was down 20%. Not because of Russia, Ukraine. That didn't help. But that was not the core reason. I mean, if earnings were still growing and rates were low in 2022, we wouldn't have had that type of a year. So I think a lot more of it is rooted in just the fundamentals of the market itself. Chime right here, down 7%. So that IPO was successful yesterday, but we are still red here right now. And good old Visa. How'd you guys let me pick this yesterday, bro? How did you guys really let me get away with Visa? No one told me stablecoins were on the way. Like, I still barely know what a stablecoin is, but I know that it's a threat to Visa and MasterCard. And it's way cooler than the traditional financial systems. And now that's down. Granted, should we buy the Visa dip? Is that the dip we buy? Visa? Dude, I know nothing. I have to actually learn about these fundamentals. $700 billion. It's a $700 billion company. Visa, huh? $700 billion company. They do have a nice 0.61% divvy. Maybe I add it for the dividend, bro. Get some of that divvy here. Kris will be on after Chad, guys. Kris will be on after Chad. Chad should be on in about 5 minutes. And then Kris will be on so we can get his thoughts on everything going on. So again, what prompted Chad to respond is, again, this video that I posted at the airport on the way to AIPCon. I saw this commercial or this ad, and I had no idea what it was, but the tagline is activate AI with any model, any compute, any storage. I think it's a new product or a new product offering or something like that. So we'll get Chad on to explain it a little bit more deeper to us, and also, just get his broader thoughts on like where he sees the AI sector and the trends of the AI sector playing out over the past couple of months. By the way, I did an interview with a Palantir employee at AIPCon around AI FDEs. I know a lot of you guys have been asking about that. I'm editing that interview. It'll be out probably on Sunday. On Saturday, tomorrow, the Mike Gallagher interview will be out. So that'll be a fun one. But AI FDE is crazy, bro. AI FDE is freaking crazy. And I think a lot of you guys we're going to be able to see what it looks like. Okay. He says, I'm kidding. I'm not down 230,000. Okay. Gotcha. Yo, how much is Triple V down today? I don't even think he's probably down, but it's probably not down as much as before. You guys remember the day that what was the day? It was after Liberation Day or something. Everyone was just down, like, again, S&P, it was 6% down. It was the worst day since 2008. Everyone. I think I was down like 150 grand that day. It was an ugly day, dude. It was a Friday too, so you had the whole weekend to think about how much money you lost. just like it was disgusting, but that was the opportunity. PayPal right here. Wow, PayPal. Oh, so no, PayPal has a stable coin. So it's kind of weird that they're getting hit by this as well. I feel like that should be a tailwind for them, if anything. But there you go. PayPal also getting a little bit of a hit right here. SoFi is dropping. SoFi 1414 is down 5%. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Scale AI. So how Meta took that company, that Meta invested $15 billion in that Scale AI company with Alexander Wang. He left the freaking company to join Meta. Meta AI. So the dude dipped on the company, and he's with Zucks now, which is kind of crazy to me. I didn't expect that switch up to happen. I thought Meta was investing in them, not taking him away. But yeah, he's out. So he put out a note last night on X, basically saying that he's joining forces with Meta, and there will be a new CEO for Scale AI, which is kind of weird. It makes you think that Meta, like, they should just be acquiring them. But I think the reason they're not acquiring them is because of antitrust. Otherwise, why would you? There is this note right here. Why would you not, take them? If you're going to take the CEO, you might as well take the whole company. But it looks like they don't want to deal with all the antitrust stuff as well. Triple V is there in the chat just when we mention his name. Thank you, brother, for the $100 super chat. Thank you for being here. Triple V, if you want to text me how much you're down today, if you want to let me know if it's bad, then I will let the audience. Oh my goodness, I just got the text, dude. Oh my gosh. All right, why don't you guys guess? Let's do it. Before I say the number, why don't you guys guess? I've been saying his trades. This is a guy who bought 1 million shares of Robinhood the other day. He sold 1 million shares of Grab, sold 100,000 shares of Hims. Like, why don't you guys guess how much this guy's down? Goodness freaking gracious, bro. Money is just a game sometimes, bro. Money is literally just a game. It's just a game. It's literally just a game. All right, Triple V. I see 7 million. I see 2 million. I see 3 million. I see 8 million. He is down $22 million on the day. Goodness freaking gracious, bro. My goodness. I mean, look, all of us are kind of used to the fact that, as your portfolio gets bigger, you see, down 36,000 5 years ago would have been crazy. It would have been my whole portfolio. Now it's like, all right, it's whatever, right? Down 36,000. But the sheer scale of $22 million, it's a little bit of money, dude. It's some money, bro. It's some freaking money. That's a flex, though. That's a flex. One day we should all aspire to be down 22 million. He said Hood is down $2 and I have 4.5 million shares. So that's 9 million already. And then Amazon, he has 1 million shares. That's down $3.36. So that's another basically 4 million. And then Nvidia, he has 1 million shares. That's down 377. So that's another basically 4 million. So you add those all up. you get to $22 million. I'm losing 5K and I'm losing my mind. Yo, dude, that like it puts into context, right? It puts into context, like that, you might be down a couple $1,000 or something like that, maybe a couple $100,000. But at the end of the day, when you're working with a big portfolio, inevitably, if you're in the right companies, that money will come back. And the sheer scale of how much money that hedge funds might be down on a day like this, it puts into context what a couple grand in a portfolio might. Now, obviously, it's all proportional relative to your net worth, but still, it just lets you know there are so many higher ambitions to achieve in life. Think of it in percent. Correct. Think of it as a percentage of percentages. That's as a perspective of percentages, which is the better way to frame it. But on the absolute basis, bro, 22 million is still 22 million. So that's a ton. All right, where's Chad? Let me message him. Let me tell him we're ready. Oh, there he is. All right. Okay, folks. So again, what prompted this was this video right here. I was on the way to AIPCon and I'm just strolling through the airport. This just pops up in front of me and I'm like, hey, I got to take a little bit of a video of this. And immediately I'm like, what's going on? The tagline is activate AI with any storage, any compute, any model, anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the rock stars, quite literally, one of the rock stars who has helped us all understand this company a lot better, lead AIP architect at Palantir, Chad.
Hey. I love you're making up titles for me as well. No.
When I was at AIPCon, I asked the stupid question of like, hey, so what do you do? And I got the proverbial response of like, I do everything. And so there you go.
I do what is needed.
You do what is needed. All right. So first of all, Chad, how are you? How have you been?
Good. How about you? I'm just, everything is pretty busy and chaotic right now.
Yeah, I would imagine. There's a lot of excitement around the company. A lot of people are obviously excited about the progress. This ad really surprised me because I didn't really understand the tagline, but the fact that you guys wanted to advertise it showed me that there's something here. So I guess let's get started with it. What is the point of activate AI with any storage, any model, any compute?
Yeah. So if you think about like, I think this probably not everybody else knows, but I was a customer running a large IT department. And so, like when I bought Palantir in, my first kind of question was like, how do I connect? And like, where is my data? Am I copying my data? Where is it going? How do I compute with it? And so as you're building out these things, that's like usually the first kind of ecosystem. I already have tools. I have things in my ecosystem I've been trying to build. And like Palantir comes in, like, what do I do with it? Do I have to copy all my data into Palantir? Like, okay, how do I transform it to make it useful? How do I get it into the ontology? Those are all the questions. And so MMDP is really like the focus on streamlining that process. And it's really flipping its head. It's like kind of you think about it as like the single pane of glass that everyone has wanted across their IT department, to be able to use data no matter where it is, use compute no matter where it is, use any model that I want. And so MMDP is multimodal data plane. And what we're trying to do with the ad here and what we're kind of talking about, this will be a whole summer push to kind of educate what it is I can have my data sitting in any cloud, any bucket or data warehouse. It can be in Databricks. It can be in Snowflake. It can be in an S3 bucket. It can be audio, video data. Doesn't matter. So storage can be anywhere. The compute, normally I build pipelines and I compute and I merge data together. I transform it and I extract important things, right? So the compute side, you might use Databricks to do compute. You might use Snowflake or BigQuery to do compute. You might want your own engine. Sometimes like we're hearing a lot about the open source databases like DuckDB or Polars or other things. Well, I want to use all of those, but maybe I already have Databricks and BigQuery.
Right.
Like, do I want to migrate again? No one wants to migrate for the sake of migrating. I want to get the value of Palantir, which, yes, we can do all the pipelining. Yes, we can store all the data. But if you've already got that, don't redo it. And so
Right.
the idea here is any storage, right? It can be your data anywhere in any format, any compute. And so instead of having to bring the data into Palantir to compute it, we can actually build pipelines in Palantir and push the compute to what you already have. And then any models too. So if you've got your own, whether they're classical ML models or they're new, generative AI models, different LLMs, You can bring your own. You can select the ones we have. You can have a third party one. You can use them all together, and we don't care. So the idea, any storage, any compute, any model, and then that means anywhere. So if you've got different hyperscalers and your data is spread across different companies, because a lot of these large enterprises have been through acquisition, have different multiple clouds, different tools all over the place. Like, cool. So imagine now with Palantir, I can hook into all those, leave the data where it is, the compute, but I have a single pane of glass to manage and build, get it in the ontology, because our end goal is not consumption, it's outcomes.
Right. So, okay, so this is actually really exciting. So to break it down for the average person, you're saying there are customers in the world that already have pipelines, compute, etc., storage on various different services. AWS.
And they're in different layers of like maturity. Some people have just started the journey. Some have been doing it for 15 years. Right.
And they might come to Palantir and say, hey, the bread and butter of what you guys offer, the ontology, AIP, we want to get integrated, but we can't leave all this existing tech stack that we built. MMDN is basically saying you don't have to.
MMDP.
MMDP. And MMDN sounds like a psychedelic, actually.
Yeah, multimodal data plane. Yep, it's a mouthful. But yeah, it's going to allow you. So the problem with other SaaS software and tools is I have to move it just so I can get the other value over here. So what you find is the frustration from a lot of IT departments of, I got to move my data to yet another platform, yet another thing. And I spend all my time replatforming. Like, no, you've kept it. You want to get outcomes with that data you already did things with, then that's where Palantir can come in and meet you where you are, whether you're like just started your journey or you're super mature. The tools now are completely interoperable. So I can just hook on, ontologize it, build AI workflows. And because our goal is the outcomes as fast as possible, not driving consumption of compute and storage, right? That is the differential here.
And the other SaaS companies are not necessarily as incentivized to have this type of interoperability because they want you to use their stuff.
I mean, how many times do I post a week of, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcomes on Twitter, right? It comes back to that exact point is like, what are the incentives? And that's why we really want to align with our customers on what are the shared incentives. The shared incentive isn't to replatform so you drive more compute. The incentive is to drive outcomes faster. And so that's why if we can streamline that through MMDP to make the tools faster, better to accelerate those outcomes, then everybody is happier, everybody wins. And also our partners that we, like Databricks was a big partnership we had. This drives more compute to them. They're happy about it. And so there's no longer fighting about where or what. Like, we're like, cool, we'll just be interoperable with everybody and our customers will win. And that's the focus we have. But can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'm going to pull up the website because we spent a lot of time on these graphics and trying to explain some of these things. I want to just walk through it real quick if we can. Let's see. Share screen. All right. I think this is the right one.
There you go.
All right.
Yep.
All right, yeah. So this is the new interoperability website that shows off the multimodal data plane. You can see the graphics here of all the different boxes. These are all it's infinitely complex, right? If anyone's working on this, they understand there's every tool on earth through big acquisitions, IT departments over time, you have all these boxes of different tools and capabilities. Your data is spread all over the place and different things. Even if you have a data lake, cool. But now how do I operationalize it, right? And that's where the ontology and AIP come in. And so all these boxes of like your enterprise widgets everywhere, and we want to be interoperable with them. So you can see all the big names here, whether they're closed source software like SAP. We've got open source stuff like Apache, the Unity catalog from Databricks, Parquet, Pandas. All of the different technologies around storage, compute are here. And so you can, and of course, my face all over this thing.
That's what I said. You're the rock star, bro. You are the guy.
Anyway, so we'll skip down to storage. But the idea here around storage is like, it's not just about tabular stuff, not about Power BI or reports. It's also like, how do I get data out and like make more data computable? So I have unstructured data like PDFs and images, chats, emails. all that unstructured stuff too is a first class citizen. Streaming as well. So if you've got data coming off machines for preventative maintenance, you got PDFs on the plant floor for maintenance people, whatever it is, the idea is it's also any type of data, not just stored anywhere. And so you can first class stream, unstructured, all this kind of stuff. We also then support, as a first class citizen, Iceberg, which is the new big file format for kind of structured data across all these platforms. So it's interoperable. That means also when you build something in Palantir and you want to access it through Databricks, you can actually register those into the Unity catalog and just hit the Iceberg table sitting in Palantir from Databricks. Right. So that's the back and forth that we see with this like kind of next gen interoperability that we're calling it. Anyway, so you see a lot of this stuff, that any storage piece, any compute, this is also it's hard for people to think about it because storage and compute are separated in most environments. Some, like BigQuery, you store data and it has compute attached, Snowflake, Databricks, but people also store data just in a blob store like S3, and they just have a file sitting there, a Parquet file or an Iceberg file. There's no compute attached. So sometimes you also want to compute with different engines. Spark has been around for 15 years. It scales massively, but it's also heavyweight. So if I have smaller data, I might want to use Polars or Data Fusion or DuckDB. In Palantir, you can orchestrate actually hitting a Parquet file or an Iceberg table sitting in Databricks, compute it with Databricks if you want, or I want to use DuckDB. Like, you can orchestrate all of those things in one single pane of glass in Palantir. And then we'll actually so you can build in Palantir and push that down. So like I can build a pipeline. The data can be sitting in Databricks, build the pipeline in Palantir. When I hit execute, it actually executes in Databricks. Data stays in Databricks and ends up in Databricks and is registered in Palantir, and I can use an ontology whenever I want.
Wow.
All of that is actually pushed down. So that's a pretty next gen capability that everybody's wanted. And it's all orchestrated through basically all the tools like Pipeline Builder and others. But so they need compute piece. And then any models we talked about a little bit around, you can register any sorts of models. Like some customers have their own physics-based models for oil rigs. I want to run that. Or I want my own LLM I've trained on something, or an LLM that I've hosted internally with my own security parameters. You can use all those together. Right. And so that's that complete optionality across everything. Then with the security versioning lineage that we provide. So you get all those benefits with the interoperability of everything.
Yeah, the reason I think this is also really exciting is because your kind of core point has been outcomes over just selling software. I mean, obviously Karp has talked about this many times. He wants to get real results. And in your opinion, I think you would imagine that if you can meet customers where they are, the probability of outcomes exponentially gets higher. Yeah,
exactly. So instead of debating about should I re-platform to Palantir, it's, well, let's just use what we have. And Palantir hooks up in a first-class way. Because that's the other thing is well, do I want to kind of rig this up? I know I want it production ready. And that's what we can bring to it is the production ready capabilities on what you have today, whether it's legacy, it's your newest thing, whatever it is. And I can drive the AI outcomes really quick. And so for us, this means I can deliver quicker.
Yeah.
Right. And which makes our customers happy. That's the shared incentive. It also means that if you already have a commitment to Databricks for a certain amount of compute, or for Snowflake or AWS, then you can still meet those requirements. You can still leave the data where it is. And if you have other things in your ecosystem that you want to keep working, cool, just keep doing it. Right. And so that interoperability means we can move even quicker. There's no longer fighting over the discussions about where do I move stuff and how do I re-platform.
I would imagine just as a company, you can move a lot faster. When I talked to Unkit about AI FDEs, the whole idea was, hey, if an AI version of a forward deployed engineer can get rid of the nitty gritty work, the creative stuff that Karp has been talking about a lot, that an FDE is the real value they bring to the company is being creative, building more workflows. They have more time to do that. In this context, in order to get a deal done and to make progress, if you're not debating about the compute, but debating about the outcome and meeting them where they are, it seems like it would be beneficial.
It's the term I like, and there's an interview I'm about to put out where Brenna, who I interviewed, said this, and I thought it was just wonderful. It was AI does the ordinary so humans can do the extraordinary. Yeah. And that's the frame that we really think about it in, is if AI can help me do the non-differentiated heavy lifting, which is also one of the core tenets that was supposed to be of AWS back in 2015 that never was delivered. Now you can actually like focus on the outcome, the human doing the extraordinary thing, because AI did all the ordinary things I normally would have to do. And that's really the frame that I think about it in.
Why are the partners so incentivized for this? Is there any sort of conflict or tension, you think, between that?
I mean, there's always conflict of tension, and you have salespeople with different incentives and whatever. But at the end of the day, what they see is if their customers can use Palantir to deliver outcomes on the data that's living in their platform, that becomes stickier for them. It becomes more revenue because they're pushing more compute, more workflows. And if that's successful, then the customer will want more. And so there is an incentive loop. I think that's where people are trying to learn and see what that looks like and what that means. But at the end of the day, you know, our partners will win too if if our shared customer gets outcomes between the software. And so it's not just if you already have one of these, you know, different vendors and Palantir together. Sometimes they don't, and they can just build in Palantir. Sometimes they're in Palantir and some other business unit has, you know, one of these pieces of software and they want to integrate it. Cool, you can do that as well, right? So it's that ultimate optionality rather than being the black box. It's the unwalled garden, you know, right? We're very open, and I think that's the myth I'm trying to break down here is instead of it being secretive and no one knows what to do, it's actually like the whole platform has an SDK. Everything that has an API.
Really? You guys have released literature for the past 10 years about your platform. Really?
I know. And like, wow. But there is openness across everything. We haven't done a great job of communicating. That's why I'm here, right? Is trying to help people understand that the openness and what we're going for is open and transparency across everything we do.
Right. Okay, last question for you, Chad. By the way, guys, there is Chad's Twitter right there in the chat. You can follow him there and keep updated with everything he writes about when it comes to Palantir, AI, etc. How should the general public expect the marketing of this? Because I know you have a lot more information to put out over the summer. What should they look out for? Articles, videos? How should they think about it?
Yep. So I'm working on a 3-part series. I'm going to show any storage, any compute, any model, right? So I'm going to show each one of those in detail working in the platform so people can see that. Akshay is working on a blog. We're going to do some more kind of demo stuff. DevCon will be coming up here in a little bit. We'll have some more stuff at DevCon, but really it's going to be a continuous thing of we're going to deploy this because also this is a continuous release of like feature sets. So like we released kind of, you know, the initial set, but like we are heavily investing in this to really like change the way that people think about processing and integrating data. And so as we release more features, I'll put out more content related to that. And I, you know, I think right now my backlog is pretty long of content and stuff I see coming. So, I mean, I've got at least 3 or 4 months of content around MMDP and demos and that kind of stuff.
All right. I'm very excited. I would imagine that you are still enjoying the process of building Palantir every day.
It is the most fun I've ever had.
Oh, it's very fun. It's very fun to cover the company as well. Chad, thank you so much for being here. We will talk later in the summer. Yeah.
See you.
See you. All right, there you go. That was what Chad had to show us today. Again, his Twitter right there in the chat. I think it's some really exciting stuff just in the context of, again, what do we care about as people that are thinking about the business? How do they drive not only outcomes faster for their clients, because that means their clients will pay them more, but how do they get new clients even quicker? Right? How do they grow top line revenue? And the way to grow that is to get new customers. The way to get new customers ultimately is to meet them where they are. And if this is a way or an approach to being able to meet companies and customers where they are without having to sign, you know, multi tens of millions of dollars of contracts, but eventually get there over time, that should be able to get them more downstream to a lot of those, you know, $500,000 deals, $2 million deals that can eventually become $10, $15 million deals over the time. So good stuff. Amazing stuff by Chad. Again, his Twitter's right there in the chat, and we will keep up with this new product offering from Palantir. Robinhood right here, 73, Palantir 137. We did touch 138 again for a little bit. Grab right here, 457, SoFi 1419. Google making a little bit of a move, trying to go green on the day, 175.60. Arrow, again, is not IPOing anytime soon. I think one of you guys said in the chat it's going to be bidding at 17 on the opening. I don't know if that's correct. By the way, the person that said I was nodding along while not understanding anything Chad was saying, you are somewhat right, but it was disrespectful. I just want to say that you're somewhat right, but it was disrespectful. Here we go. Okay, so Bloomberg is saying, Bloomberg saying $16. No, $18. Bloomberg is saying shares are indicated to open at $18, 80% above the IPO price. $18, huh? Oracle, wow, dude, my goodness, Oracle, holy moly, 211 on Oracle. Goodness gracious. Market cap has to be above 600, right? 591. 591 on Oracle. 590 freaking one. Dude, that's aggressive today. Shout out if you got Oracle. Congrats. Elaine says, thanks, Amit. I'm going out. I've got things to do. Have a great weekend. Elaine, have a great weekend. Hopefully you enjoy it. And if anyone has to leave the market open, I hope you have a good weekend. I will be alive for the market close and for that humanoid roundtable. No Palantir Weekly tonight, though, because it's my dad's birthday. And so I'll be gone in the night. But we will have two more streams later throughout the day. Oracle's pumping because of those earnings, folks. That's the reason. Those earnings were exceptional. I mean, those earnings were, it's hard to quantify how amazing those earnings were. So that's why it's getting a bit of a pump right here. It's just, this is an aggressive one. This one is a big one. I don't think a lot of people expected. Nick said he bought Oracle Leaps after earnings, up 25% already. Wow, congrats. That's 25% in a day, bro. Goodness. NVIDIA 141, PayPal 71, Google 175, and then Grab right here 458. 10-year yields are up. I mean, 10 years should be up because of oil inflation. So it makes sense that these guys are up. It would be surprising if they're not. Again, if oil prices stay elevated for longer, inflation expectations will stay elevated, which means the yields on these bonds will also be elevated. So that is fair. Okay, did Robinhood give out the allocation? Let's see. Let's see how much they gave me. Did they give it out? Did they give it out? I don't see mine yet. Some of you guys are saying you got it. No, they didn't tell me. It still says shares requested 250. I think I should be getting a notification soon, though, about how much. Dude, if it's gonna open at $18, I don't think I'm gonna get 250 shares. Like that's gonna be too aggressive. If there's that much demand, Palantir 138.17, then maybe we're not gonna get it. Nick said I requested 1,500. Someone got one share out of 800. What? Okay, this might be a big IPO, dude. If you actually only got one share out of 800 that you requested, that means this is not. Either you requested way too late. I did request pretty early. As soon as it was offered, I requested. Or there's way too much demand. Someone got one share at 46. Holy crap. Dude, why is everyone saying they got one share? That means I'm going to get barely any shares then. That is crazy, bro. You got 1 out of 500 on Webull? That person says, no, I almost immediately requested. Dude, I guess there's going to be a lot of IPO season is back, baby. I guess there's going to be a lot of demand. By the way, Palantir 138, still 25,000 shares at 139. 25,000 shares at 139. Okay. I didn't get any. I didn't get any shares. I didn't get any. I didn't get any. I didn't get any, guys. Holy crap. What is this IPO going to be like? Look at this shit. No shares at this time. For everyone who got one share, congrats. You got more than me. Look at this shit. While this may not be the outcome you hope for, know that we're working hard to ensure that more people get the shares they request. It's not you. It's a limited supply. Bro, did they really just say it's not you, it's me? Did they really say it's not you, it's me, or it's not me, it's you? With a limited number of shares available, the random allocation process allows customers an equal shot at getting shares with every new IPO. Yes, my phone is uncharged. I live on the edge. What do you want me to do? Dude, yesterday, I almost couldn't get into my Tesla because my phone was at 1% and I didn't even realize it. And you kind of need your phone to like be alive to like open the Tesla because it's not you don't have regular keys. And yeah, thankfully I I got back into my car. Dude, this IPO is going to be wild. 138.50 on Palantir. This IPO is going to be wild, bro. Yeah, they legit friend zoned us. That's ridiculous, bro. Is this thing pumping to 40, 50 bucks? Like, is it actually going to happen? I didn't get any either, nor did I get Chime. Dumped by notification. 1000%, bro. Dumped my notification. Israeli military says it began to deploy reservists from different units to all combat areas nationwide following a strike on Iran. Okay, so Israel is probably preparing for a retaliation pretty soon. I mean, they retaliated last night, but based on the comments this morning, it's probably going to be more aggressive. Wow, dude, how did at least you guys are getting one share, dude? I got nothing. I just got rejected. All of you guys that are saying you got one share, at least you got one share. How did everyone get one share? Danny, I got one share out of 100 requested. How did I get nothing? Like, they couldn't even give me one, bro. They couldn't even give me freaking one. Trump says Iran officials calling him to discuss situation. That's actually good. If the Iran officials are calling him to discuss this, maybe he can walk them off the edge to get them to not attack. That actually maybe is not the worst. Now, they're definitely going to attack. There's no way they're going to not. Well, I don't know. There might be a world where they don't. I mean, do you remember April 2024? Iran just kind of backed down and they didn't get as aggressive. That's when the S&P fell to like 492. So maybe that could be a headline that also helps the markets if Trump says that Iran will not be retaliating as aggressively. Circle's up 10%. Visa's up Visa's down 6%. I should have picked Circle for the freaking ETF challenge, bro. Like if we're gonna give stable coins a bid over the company that processes 15 trillion every year. Dude, one share is just embarrassing. Like that, honestly, I'd rather not have one share. Like all of you guys that have one share, it's gonna like it's just like one share, really. Like, I'd rather get rejected, bro. I'd rather not go on the date, and like not have it be a good date. I'd rather just, I'd rather just stay at home. Screw it. Kevin got 0 as well. Yep. Someone's jealous. You damn right I'm jealous, bro. Not one share. They couldn't give me one freaking share. I'm donating my one share to you. No, everyone should sell that freaking share as soon as it IPOs if you get a freaking 80% move. Granted, if you get an 80% move in IPO, who knows if that thing goes even crazier. But if they're going to open at 18 and you get it at $10, take your $8 and, get some coffee. Like, that's the sad part. Like, if you sell it and you make $8, it's like even if you had 50 shares, it's like, okay, at least I'm making like $500. But like, you make $8, which is good. It's good money. $8 is not bad money. It's just a little disrespectful when you're trying to get a real allocation. So, TradingView is already displaying them at $40, dude. Oh, it's open. Is it open? Did they open? 14.19, folks. There you go. It's open. It's open. 14.19. That's what I'm seeing on Legend. 14.19. That's up 40%. That's up 40%. Let me check Webull. By the way, Oracle 211. Yeah, Webull has the same thing. 14.19. It's halted. It's halted at 14.19. Halted at 14.19. I'm not buying this stupid shit at 14.19. They're not gonna get me to buy in, bro. I asked them. I was pretty nice with my request. They rejected. Screw it. Not going to ask them to buy in. Vlad just tweeted. Did he just tweet? Why are you guys saying Vlad just tweeted? Did he tweet? Oh yeah, he did. Okay, this is just him sharing the demo. He's just sharing the demo. Okay, cool. Sharing the demo. Hey, Vlad, if you're tweeting the demo, can you please freaking give me some shares too, bro? Goodness gracious. You have a great Legend demo, but can we please give me some freaking shares on the IPOs? Karan got 100 shares at 12.9. It's halted, guys. It's halted. It's not moving. By the way, Triple V just texted. He said he is now down 12 million. So he was down 22. Now he's down 12. It's not bad. Nice little 10 million recovery in the past 30 minutes. Palantir 137.94. Robin at 73.04. SoFi 14.24. I'm not buying this thing, bro. First of all, I can't buy it because it's halted. But second of all, it's about respect and ego now. It's about respect and ego. Freaking reject me, leave me at the altar, then expect me to come back. The hell out of here, bro. Not one share. Not one for. I'm on this freaking app every single day. They can't give me one share. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. No way. All right, let's get Kris onto the show and get his thoughts on what's going on. Christopher Patel, good morning.
What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. First of all, how do you feel about being in the top 2 last night with your ETF?
I mean, I thought I made logical sense on all the ones that I purchased. So, well, not purchased, but picked. So, yeah, there's logic behind them.
Do you think you win a year from now?
I mean, I hope so. I think Matt's got some key players in there that do give me some concern with total return. Like ASTS could blindside me very bad. Like today, ASTS is doing really well.
Good. This was a nice one. Yeah.
So yeah, no, Matt's got some. Matt's portfolio is geared towards overall performance. The challenge is if we do get like a more flattish year, his portfolio will likely be a lot more, will likely underperform. I mean, I see some of the names in there that are like either it's going to be hit or misses. So
I feel like I'm going to beat all of you guys anyway. So yeah,
I hope so, man. Let's see. You're already down on your Visa position.
Dude, why did you hold on, Kris? As soon as I picked Visa, you were the first person to say that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
It was a good pick.
I re-listened to it. Apparently, it's not a good pick today.
No.
Okay, so Kris, let's get into it. First of all, again, I'm going to put this question to you. Another IPO that opens up 40%. Do you like this or do you not like this?
I don't know much about it.
No, not the company, but the environment of these IPOs.
I mean, it shows that there's more speculation in the market, right? So typically companies, they not realize, but they want to do exits during times where markets are giving premium valuations to story stocks, right? So if you remember the SPAC era, people were literally buying all sorts of SPACs, regardless of the total metrics on which those businesses operated, right? So a lot of people right now may be buying based on that. So I think the IPO market is, it's healthy. So people are coming out and putting their, especially if you're AI related. If you're AI or space related or something that's new technology, right now these companies are coming in with IPOs. And the thing is, like, they need to raise that capital for their for exits on their investment cap in their cap table, but then also they need to reinvest some of that money into their businesses. So yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the discussion on Israel Iran. I mean, dip's obviously getting eaten up right now. It's not really as aggressive. I'm sure you've seen some of the updates this morning about what Trump said, basically kind of trying to justify it without necessarily agreeing with the strike. How do you think this plays out over the coming weeks?
I think in the next few weeks, it's a nothing burger, to be honest. The thing is, Israel has done this in the past also. And the response from Iran is going to be pretty, stacked for a very short period of time. And this way they could say, like, look, we were able to do this, that, and the other thing. But for the most part, I don't think it really goes anywhere. This happens every maybe 10 years. Like if you remember the Israelis, they put a virus in, I think, what was it called? Stuxnet or something? I forgot the virus's name. But they did that to Iran another time. And then, so I don't think this is much. The good thing is the U.S. is not trying to enter this war. If the U.S. was trying to put boots on the ground, then we have a problem. And Israel doesn't have the capacity to fight a long drawn out war in Iran. The most Israel can really do is just basically contain the Iranians, and that's what they're doing. The one challenging thing that I've seen from the Israeli side is that, if you go back 20 years, there was this stranglehold that Israel had on U.S. politics. And I think over time, that stranglehold is starting to weaken, and it's weakening by the day right now. So you're starting to see both people on the left and the right coming together and saying, we're not going to fight Israel's wars anymore. We're not going to destabilize countries because Israel feels threatened. 20 years ago, we were all about that life. Like, oh, yeah, let's go and fight for, freedom and democracy and all this other stuff. And what did we really end up getting from it? The US, we ended up losing troops. We spent all this money. We spent people's lives, and we destabilized the Middle East. And the people that took over are even worse than what they were beforehand.
Yeah.
You look at like Libya. Libya's got slave markets back again. You look at Iraq. Iraq's controlled by proxies from the Iranians. Afghanistan is back in the hands of the Taliban again. So what was the point of all of this? So that Israel could feel good about itself, saying, "Oh, look, all the neighbors around me have basically been turned into ash." Like,
So your opinion is that this situation blows over, and one of the reasons it's going to blow over is because the U.S. is not going to aggressively get involved, but rather try to mediate the situation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you think that so this happened again in April in 2024, and Iran kind of chilled out. Do you think they chill out this time, or do you think they need to, for legitimacy reasons, have a broader attack?
The challenge is Iran doesn't have the capability to really do much damage directly to Israel. The best they can hope for is keep pumping money into the proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah, especially. I'm not sure if Hamas is really that affiliated with Israel. Not Israel, sorry, Iran. Hezbollah definitely is backed by Iran because they're Shias. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think Iran has the military capability to really like cause much damage to Israel itself. Of course, they're going to do the retaliatory strikes because they kind of have to show that force, that strength. But other than that, this is like a nothing burger.
So, did you buy any dips this morning?
Actually, I bought more UNH. Yeah, I think UNH is probably one of the most compelling things to buy right now, considering just where they are in the grand scheme of things with the recovery, and they've been oversold. They're in a sector that's not necessarily dependent on tariffs all that much. They have like some tailwinds coming in from some structural changes in how healthcare is delivered. And believe it or not, one of the biggest bull cases is the introduction of AI into a process that typically requires a lot of human interaction. So by integrating AI into the healthcare delivery process, UNH can really trim down its cost of delivery, in which case now that ends up being more profitability. And because of just how things are, they can eventually raise up some prices on premiums going into the next couple of years. So if you look at the valuation right now, you project out minor increases in premiums, some decreases in overall healthcare delivery, you got yourself a pretty good overall return. And then you have the share buybacks and all this other stuff. So like I said, my expectations for UNH is that they recover nicely. Maybe not to the same level that they were right before the move down, but structurally they're a very strong business. They're going to be fine.
So UNH 315 right here, down about 1% of the day. Nvidia 142, Google 175. Kris, do you think there's anything that can take this market? I mean, I know you're concerned a little bit about the labor market, but do you think there's anything real that could get us down back to like 5,500 on the S&P?
I mean, most of the time when you see these giant market moves down, there's credit events that typically can cause issues. Like structurally, if you start to see like a bank fail and, you see multiple things like that happen, then you got a problem. So, I mean, I'm keeping my eye pretty close to multifamily housing, because there could be a bubble in multifamily housing. So that's just something to keep in mind. There's a lot of overbuilding that happened, and yeah, just multifamily scares me a little bit. I wouldn't say scares, but it has me a little bit concerned. And so we could see some downturn in multifamily, in which case things would end up getting sold for like maybe 60, 70 cents on the dollar. The price differential between what it costs to rent and what it costs to buy is huge right now. So that eventually is going to correct. And the thing is that negative wealth effect is something that I'm I'm keeping my eye on as well. So imagine right now you live in an area and you think your house is worth $700,000. Next year, let's say it's worth 600,000. So of course you're going to feel that negative wealth effect. People and consumers are going to cut back on spending.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's slows down the economy. I mean, technically that's good for the disinflation scenario, and I think we're going to eventually get that. You're starting to see credit card delinquencies starting to spike, auto delinquencies spiking. Those all could lead to some major structural issues going forward. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I want to pull up a chart because I've been seeing that you're absolutely right on the credit and the auto stuff. It's getting a bit more aggressive right here, particularly on auto. I think we looked at the chart a while ago, but auto payments are the worst they've been in history in terms of people not paying them back. And then the same goes for the credit cards itself. I'll see if I can pull that chart up in a second. Gold, do you like it right here or no?
I think gold is a good hedge against inflation. So yeah, I mean, this administration is going for a very pro-growth policy, which means that they're going to try to inflate away the debt, and usually asset appreciation tends to happen. So gold is not a bad place to be.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, in terms of some of these Mag 7s that we're looking at. So, I mean, you're still heavily loaded up on Google right here. One of the core things or Tesla, by the way, guys, 319, Palantir 138. So those getting a little bit more green right here. Google did get to 181, then came down. What was your take on when that headline came out that Sundar's trying to get rid of some people in the search and ads division, and then the market kind of went down on that? I guess the question is here: do you think Q2 they'll be able to prove to the market search and ads isn't the backbone of the business anymore?
I mean, they're trying their best to basically manage a bad situation because they have all sorts of issues with antitrust. They have issues with like AI kind of quote unquote disrupting search. I don't think that that's really the case, but the company itself is trying to reinvent itself to be a more modern company around services. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's inevitable they have to kind of reposition the company on subscription revenues. I do wonder how much juice they'll be able to get out of subscription revenues, especially if they, don't win 100% of the market. Because the third world, the developing economies still need subsidized models at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Google is still going to do really well over a long period of time. It's just that the market's the question is the market going to give it that value? Like the fact that you look at like other companies trading at like 30 PEs and Google's trading at an 18 PE makes you wonder like, what's the issue here? And the thing is, if you look at it from a cash flow perspective, Google's actually generating a way more in cash. So, it's all about perception right now. So the perception is not on Google's side, and it may not be on Google's side for a while. So,
folks, Arrow is unhalted, $18, pretty much what people thought it would open at.
What does this company do?
Drones.
So they build drones?
Yeah, they sell drones. They do some other stuff, but mainly
like
drones.
What kind of drones?
Ones that are in the sky.
Obviously. I'm saying like are they like military applications? Do they have like consumer focused?
I don't know, but they're drones. So, and it got halted again. No, I think it's more so defense, not consumer oriented.
Okay.
But yeah, I was reading through a little bit of their S1 yesterday. I mean, some of the numbers look okay. What's the market cap? They're gonna. It's not even out yet. Overall, I don't know if it deserves to be up 80%. Like,
I'm never a fan of hardware businesses. Like, if hardware businesses tend to be low margin, even if they're in a growth vector, that just don't really perform that well, and yeah, just like there's plenty of drone companies out there. So what's the moat this company has that other people don't have?
I don't know, but I know that IPOs are hot. That's all I know. By the way, my boy just texted me. He said my VG average is 890. Kris Patel might be him.
What? Might be what?
Might be him.
What does that mean?
Dude, you don't know what that means?
No.
Himothy? You don't know? You don't get it?
Timothée Chalamet? What?
No, you don't. I'm him. You don't know the. You don't know
No.
the. You don't know the. You don't know this? I'm him. You never saw this? I'm
No.
him. So Austin Reeves, he hit a big shot at a playoff game, and as soon as he was done with the shot, he yelled out to the crowd, "I'm him!" And it became a thing where it's like, you know, when you call your shot like VG at 8 and it goes to 16, you're him.
I mean, I come from a generation where you just said Kobe. Like, you know, we don't do this. I'm him. I mean, it technically doesn't even make sense grammatically. You know.
Yeah, but it's I'm him, bro. And now with Timothée Chalamet, it became Himothy. So you're Himothy.
Okay.
There you
Weird. Okay, whatever.
Speaking of VG, does this thing go up because of oil going up in prices?
Well, the good thing is, with regards to oil, like if you look how most of the natural gas gets produced here in the U.S., a lot of it comes from the Permian Basin, and it comes as a byproduct of oil drilling. So one of the concerns that I was actually thinking about was that if oil prices dip below 70, and usually even if especially if they dip below 60, it makes a lot of the shale plays in the Permian not as economical. So that means that there's less production from the Permian. And so if you have less production in Permian for oil, that means that there's less natural gas production. And if nat gas production goes down, the price of nat gas here in the US goes up, which means now the spread between US natural gas and gas overseas narrows. And so that means the profitability between that spread goes down. So that could have some short-term impacts. But with oil prices higher, now you can have more natural gas production, which means natural gas prices can come down. And if natural gas prices come down and they stay higher in other parts of the world, that means that now you get more money on that spread. So, the spread between what we have here, which is called TTF, and what they have overseas is what you're going to, overseas is TTF, which is in Dutch, and then there's in Japan they have something called JKM. We have here Henry Hub, and so that price difference between what Henry Hub is and what it is overseas is where a lot of the liquefiers make their money. Most of the time they have fixed contracts with companies so that they don't have to worry about that. But right now, a lot of Venture Global's profitability is coming from spot pricing. So, if spot prices expand rapidly, that means that their profitability will be, of course, be a lot higher. And so if the spot pricing if that spread compresses, that means the profitability won't be as good. So originally when VG came out this year, they were looking at about 6.8 to 7.1 billion in EBITDA, but they had to kind of dial it back because the spread narrowed. And so their fixed forward contracts came down. So they had to reduce their guidance to 6.6 billion in EBITDA to 6.6 to 6.9 billion in EBITDA. So if you look at it on a multiples basis, that would give you sort of the stock being almost at fair value right now. So the key here is we want a scenario where at least until a lot of this spot production becomes fixed, to be as maximum as possible, right? If you can get like an $8 to $10 spot price, bro, you are in the money. Like these guys will do freaking amazing. But if spot prices are like $4 to $6, something like that for forward contracts, it may not be as good. So you just have to kind of understand how the spot price on LNG works. And yeah.
Okay, so VG, a lot of these oil companies, oil and gas, natural gas companies getting a bid here today. The actual catalyst is what you've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, though, not this Israel-Iran situation, I would imagine.
Yeah. I'd say be careful of oil companies, especially because there is a lot of production that's being that's coming up right now. So OPEC has been raising their production quotas, and the U.S., we of course are in drill baby drill mode. So the price of oil might be a little bit more controlled than people think. So, a lot of people, when they look at energy, they're like, oh my God, this war is going to happen. Oil is going to go to 120. Let me buy some oil companies right now. And that may not materialize. So, you're probably better off asking someone like Matt, for that. And the thing is, like, you just have to keep your eye on production levels and go from there. So yeah.
ASTS, why is this green today?
They had a deal done today. I think it was like they just got access to some spectrum that was worth a lot of money for not as much. So there you go. So there it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so basically is it an investment, you would say, to an extent?
Well, technically, yeah, they basically bought like those frequencies, because think of frequencies as real estate. Okay, so if you can buy real estate on the cheap, that means that from an investment standpoint, it works for you, because now you can rent out that space in the future, right? So it just gives them more capacity, which is good, because overall in the business, you need more capacity. That's how you're going to make money. Yeah, spectrum is a limited resource. So the more spectrum that you can pick up at a cheaper price, the better off you'll do in total in the future. So it also gives you a lot of flexibility on providing services. So
Yeah.
yeah, you'd be surprised that, like, if you've ever done the research on like what frequency costs are, like long term, these are really, really expensive things. Like you're talking about like hundreds of billions of dollars being spent by companies like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile for spectrum rights. And
Right.
so being able to get access to certain spectrums, you can actually end up doing really well for a shareholder return. And believe it or not, that's one of the things that gives this company a really wide moat, you know? So it's not like anyone else can just send up their satellites and be like, yeah, I'm going to use the same spectrum as these guys. Like, no, there's frequencies that you are not allowed to use legally. You know?
Right.
It's the same like when T-Mobile bought Sprint. They bought the antennas frequency so they don't have to set up new again. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah. Pounce right here, 138.70. Might be trying to go for 139, and then Hoodie.
Here's a really good question. Who sells the frequencies? Usually it's the governments. The governments sell frequencies to private vendors, and they usually sell them for like a predetermined like period of time. One of the major issues that we had, I would say about 2-3 years ago, was that a lot of these satellite companies, they had bought spectrum a long time ago and they weren't necessarily using it, but they had bought it. So there's a couple of companies like Intelsat where they kind of wanted to use like, those frequencies for cell phone usage and everything else. But because the satellite providers had basically bought those, they weren't able to use those frequencies. So they eventually had like a public auction where these guys were able to get paid a really good amount of money to get access to those frequencies. Now, the funny thing is Intelsat was in bankruptcy, so you could have actually bought the debt super cheap, knowing that eventually you would have got paid for those frequencies. And that's kind of the same thing that happened with Legato or Legando. I don't know how to say the name, but basically those frequencies are like, they're very, very valuable, very valuable.
Yeah. We do have some news on Palantir. Sham joined the army. So he put out an op-ed today saying that he will be commissioned as Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserve's newly formed Detachment 201, Exclusive Innovation Corps.
That's cool, man. That's really good to see. As brown people, we need to serve.
Yeah,
one of you want to know one of the things that got me to really serve when I was in college, like in college, people say that like they give immigrants this whole like this bad thing, like, oh, you're just a bunch of people here to take. You're never gonna do anything for this country. And the thing is, like, I felt particularly like, hey, you know what? I need to do fucking my part, because I'm sure that in the future, some asshole's going to come up and be like, what did you guys do for your country? You just came here and you just basically took from this country. You never did anything. Well, there you go. It's just another brown man saying, you know what? I could be sitting with billions of dollars on a beach somewhere, but I'm going to do what's best for my country. I mean, it just goes to show there's still some spirit left in this country, and especially among immigrants that do want to give back to this country for everything that they've given us.
Yeah, and Sham escaped some really tough circumstances to come to America back in the early 2000s. So you could tell he's so grateful for what this country has given him.
You know, that was something that pisses me off. Like, there's no tomorrow. When I see people born in this country and they're like, this country is a bunch of colonizers and blah, 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 and all these. And I'm just like, looking, I was like, you were born into one of the best countries on the fucking planet, and you have everything like, you don't know what poverty is. You don't know the situation that people have come from. And so when they burn the American flag, like dude, I'll tell you right now, I don't give a shit about, like, I think everyone has the right to freedom of speech and they can burn the flag. Just don't burn that shit in front of me. You'll get punched in the face by me. I don't really give a shit. I respect your right to burn that flag, but just to let you know, I have the right to punch you in the face. And I'm willing to accept the consequences of that.
Yeah, I mean, dude, as a vet, I can't imagine seeing someone burn that flag in front. It's one of those things where also, like, America has issues and we've committed sins. We've had slavery. Like, we have a long and storied history, but comparative to the rest of the world,
every country on this planet has made mistakes. The difference is the U.S. has been one of those countries that says, you know what, we made mistakes in the past. We accept it and we're going to do what we can to change it. We don't live. And we don't live in the past. We shouldn't live in the past like that. So,
no, I agree. Arrow, guys, this thing up 122% for everyone who got their one share. If you didn't sell it yet, you're up $12. So congrats. IPO season, it is here. Kris, is there any stock in the private markets outside of Anduril that you would really want to buy if they go public?
So have you ever heard of a company called Replit?
Yes, I have.
Yes. So I would love to get Replit, and I would also like to get another company. Have you heard of LangChain?
Yeah, in the model space. Yeah.
Yeah. So those two are the companies that I would probably love to get some allocation with, because I think they have they have some tools that really could benefit things. Yeah. So I would really look up Replit and look up what is that called? LangChain.
Yeah. These two are companies that I think a lot of people have not heard about too much, but they're very interesting companies, especially in the AI space, and they've really been able to use AI as an accelerant for them. Obviously, Canva, Klarna, Stripe, Discord, those are the high profile ones, but this could be something, if this market keeps up, we could see 3 to 4 IPOs a month.
Yeah.
I mean, 2021, we had like 200 IPOs.
Look at the comment section. LangChain is sick. I've been using it. Replit for vibe coding. See, these are the kinds of things that you don't necessarily know unless you've worked somewhat adjacent to this industry,
Yeah. For those asking, I got no Arrow and I'm not buying it because I feel pretty disrespected by not getting a single share. So Johnny got 255 shares. All right. If you got it, did you flip it? Let me know. Or are you holding for the next 30 days?
I thought you weren't able to sell right away.
So maybe I have it wrong. Maybe if you have it right now on your Robinhood, does it say you can sell or no? Let me know, guys. Because last time for Circle, it just gave you a warning that you'd be banned from IPOs for 2 months if you sell.
Yeah.
But you were able to sell. Mike said he just sold. All right. Yeah. Dude, the equity markets, you can get in low, sell high, get some other schmuck to buy those shares, and you move on with your life.
Pretty much.
And then that schmuck might sell it to someone else who's going to pay even more for it. And that schmuck's going to sell it to and then the Ponzi just continues forever,
Bro, how does Palantir even remotely come to this freaking value, bro?
Dude.
It's up again. It's $138. About to hit 139.
I mean, it's Palantir.
Insane, bro. Insane valuation.
So I even with their valuation, I believe in them and I put them in my ETF. If you had to pick anyone besides you, who would you pick to win a year from
now? So probably Matt, believe it or not. So Matt's got some really strong players in there. They could really do well. I had a lot of companies on there that are like relatively safe, right? So, but Matt went like, let me find these small cap companies that have the potential to like 2 to 3x in the next few years, with the exception of a few, right? Like Oscar is only about $4 billion market cap. Bros is I think 10. Abcelera is like $800 million, or maybe actually it could be a billion now in market cap. And Rocket Lab, of course, is about 10 billion. Amazon is the only mega cap in there. SoFi, I think, is like, what's SoFi? Like 15 billion, roughly.
Yeah.
You know, ASTS is about 10 billion. So I think just looking at the portfolio, he's got smaller names on there that have a lot more growth potential. But they're also riskier plays as well. So, just keep that in mind. Yeah.
You would go with Matt. You would go with Matt.
Yeah, I'd go with Matt. I think the one that I think is going to underperform, well, pull it back up. Let me try. The one that's going to underperform the most is probably going to be Amit. Okay.
It is. Look, I picked some stocks that are at all-time highs already.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was surprised that you picked Apple. I like Apple, but dude, like they just don't look like they have a lot going for them outside of their just massive share buybacks. Nebius could do really well for you. JPM, it's more traditional, so you'll see like 15-20% at the most. AMD could do really well. Palantir will be your underperformer for sure, 100%.
What if it's not?
Well.
What if Palantir's 150, 160 by this time next year? I mean, you could see that happening if they put up the growth. It would be aggressive. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's not like impossible.
I think all of us have really good portfolios, to be honest with you. I think all of, like, I would honestly would not mind putting $1,000 in each of these portfolios. Like that's how good some of these picks are.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. There's a healthy balance of speculation and a healthy balance of traditional companies in all of our portfolios that will at least get us to market perform, or at least outperform the market slightly. I can't say one of these things is, oh my God, like definitely going to underperform or definitely going to outperform, except mine, of course, which is definitely going to outperform. So,
so your number one buy in this market right now is UNH.
I think UNH is the easiest play in this market, dude. Like just from a mean reversion standpoint, it is so easy to see this company get to where it needs to go, because the news that came out was not even close to being as bad as the market's reaction to what happened. And they just have so many levers that they can pull. Like I said, in terms of like sheer confidence, like UNH is a good one, especially if your time horizon is long enough, Yeah. And they've got, yeah.
Would you buy UNH or Google right now?
I'd probably buy more UNH. I have way more faith in UNH than I do with Google right now, only because the valuation on Google is constantly being challenged by this whole like search is being disrupted narrative. So they may not get their true potential. Whereas if you look at UNH is trading at like a 12 PE, forward PE of 13, where traditionally it's traded between 20 and 30. So I'm not even saying like, hey, you need a 20 and 30, just get to like 18. And that's 50% higher than where it's trading at today. So for a $300 company, you're looking at $450 return. So it's not hard to see the value in this.
Right. All right, Kris, thank you. Appreciate it. We will talk to you next week.
No problem. Hey, and by the way, everyone who's in ASTS, congratulations, man. Great. That was a really good move on us when we picked that thing up. And I really do appreciate that guy for coming on, Anapan, man, and the Space Mob community. Dude, I'm telling you, the research that the Space Mob people do is on another level.
Dude, someone sent me a PDF of 250. I'm going to put it in the chat. I think it's public. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Yeah.
250 pages, bro. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. It is, yeah, it's a public link right here. I'll put it in the chat, but it's just pages and pages and pages of this freaking ASTS thesis.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. I just wish I had. Yeah, sometimes you forget about these things, because I had been looking at ASTS for a while, especially around September, but I didn't really do much else. I did catch it after it dipped, which was good. You know, like, damn, that's you see what I mean by insane levels of research?
I'm still scrolling, bro. I'm still scrolling. I've been scrolling for a good 25 seconds. I'm still scrolling. Like,
Yo, send that to me. Send that to me also. If they're cool with it.
like, what is all this, bro? This is great. Yeah, it's public. I can send it to you, but
All right.
it's wild, bro. It's wild.
Yeah.
All right, Kris. Thanks so much. Chris is Twitter in the chat. I'll talk to you over the weekend.
Take care. Have a good one.
Take care. Have a good one. All right, guys. I think that is it. We are done today. I will be back on the market close. Markets recovered. If you bought the dip, congrats. If you bought the dip, congrats. Freaking arrow. Looks like this thing wants to go to, who knows where it wants to go to. Did it unhalt yet? It is 2283. It's going to get unhalted probably in a couple minutes, and it either dumps or goes higher. If it keeps halting to the upside, then I think it's going to go higher. That's what it feels like. But yeah, if you got some shares, congrats. If you didn't, we will have to wait for the next IPO. Let's see if we can get some allocation as well. All right, cool. I think that's it. Again, I'll put that link in the chat for ASTS. Yeah, I'll be live on the market open. No Palantir Weekly today, but we're gonna have that humanoid roundtable. So that should be super fun. And Brett from Figure, he'll be joining us. Again, we're just going to be playing the 1 hour of that new podcast, or not the new video they put out, and we're just all going to be talking in the background. So hopefully it should be fun. And yeah, dude, Jensen's talking up humanoid robots. I mean, maybe these companies really will be multi-trillion-dollar companies doing hundreds of billions in net income, not even revenue. So it'll be pretty incredible. And then, yeah, we'll have the market close. We'll have the humanoid roundtable, and then Palantir Weekly probably next week, because not gonna be able to do it today. Yeah, it's gonna be at 7 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure your internet is working. Dude, it was being weird last night or 2 nights ago. Who does your eyebrows? Dude, some of you guys are so obsessed over my eyebrows. My barber, he just like cleans it up a little bit. He doesn't do my eyebrows. He just like cleans it up a little bit, so it's not a dude. I basically had a unibrow in high school because I didn't like figure out the barber situation. And yeah, once I got like a decent barber, he just, fixed it up a little bit. So yeah, that's what someone said. Your eyebrows have a life of their own. I haven't gotten a mani-pedi in a minute, bro. Might need to do that soon. But yeah, he cleans them up. Are you doing anything for your dad's birthday? Yeah, we're having a little party at home, and we have some family coming over. So that's why no Palantir Weekly tonight. He's 65, bro. 65. He doesn't like that he's getting older, but nonetheless, you have to embrace every day and every part of your journey. And he the one thing I learned from my dad is he's not the type of guy to complain ever. Like my dad, the amount of shit he's been through, immigrant, came to America, opened a liquor store for 25 years to pay the bills, and now he's doing a bunch of other stuff. Like he's just I've never heard him complain once, bro. Like I'm not even saying that to say I genuinely have not ever heard him complain about waking up early or feeling sick or anything. Like it's just work. So that's why when the internet dies out yesterday, I couldn't do the market close. Trust me, it's not because I was lazy and I didn't want to do it or I was taking some time off. Like I was trying to find a way to do it. I couldn't do it. People said to go live on X, but X's live interface is not really the best one to go live on. It's not sort of the best way that I like to go live. It's very hard to get the analytics, so it's really difficult to kind of navigate it. Sharing the screen directly from X, like it's I want to give a good experience at the end of the day. So the only reason I would compromise the work is if the experience sucked. That's why when I took off like 2 months ago, it's because I kept coughing. It's like it would be a bad experience. But hard work. That's what I learned from him. Tesla 320. It was at 313 this morning, 312 this morning. That Tesla 320. So that one's getting some love. And then Hoodie 74. Also, my dad is really maturing as an investor. Last night when the whole Israel-Iran stuff broke out, he looked at his portfolio and he was like, oh, cool. I'll buy the dip. Like, dude, I'm telling you, even 4 months ago, he would have been like, oh, I hate that my stocks are down. Why is this happening? He would have been cursing out the stocks. Like literally, he would have been throwing Indian curses at the stock market. And now he's just like, oh, cool. I buy some more stocks. So really, it's just like, his evolution as an investor and just thinking of that long-term mentality has been Incredible. Arrow 2970. My goodness, bro. 200 freaking %. It got halted again, didn't it? Of course it did. It gets halted. Yep, halted again. This thing's going to 40. Why stop at 40? Let's go to 50. And what's the market cap? Where is the market cap on this thing? Okay, so I don't know if Weeble's accurate. Weeble's telling me 769 million, but I think that was the initial. If not, it should be 2 or 3 billion by now. Let me know if someone has the market cap. Let me know. It's got to be way more than, I think it's more than $1 billion. I think it's more than $1 billion here. But there you go. Another successful IPO. And if it's a $750 million market cap after the 2x, that means they were IPOing at what? 300, 250 million? So if the 750 is the actual updated IPO or a market cap after IPO, then that means this was going to be a super small cap that was going public. Palantir 139. Did we get it? Did we get it? We did. 139. Okay. Let's see 140 then. Let's see. By the way, my portfolio just went green. I would imagine a lot of you guys are going green right now. NVIDIA back at 143. 140 resistance on Palantir. 190,000 shares. That one psychologically, they're gonna make us work for that one. 190,000 shares. Do we sell Arrow 1 share and not buy IPO for 60? Okay, so if you only got 1 share, I kind of wouldn't sell it if they have that 60-day flipping rule, because I mean, you'll make like $10, right? Like, but then you won't be able to participate in the other IPOs. So I mean, technically, yeah, dude. Technically, I mean, if you only got 1 share and you're up 200% right now, but if you sell it today, it's going to stop you from getting into another IPO in the next 2 months. I kind of wouldn't sell it. I would just be like, all right, whatever, because limiting your access for, $20 maybe not be the best idea. Is Trump speaking? Trump already spoke this morning to a bunch of reporters. I don't think he's live today. Yeah, he's not live right now. But he spoke to ABC News and Wall Street Journal this morning. Mitch, should I sell Chime? Honestly, dude, I don't know enough about this business. I do think it's weird that SoFi is not getting the same valuation, but if you got in at 27, it's at 34. You got to assess. That's a good return. You got to assess. Do you believe in the long-term potential of this business? I just don't know enough about it to say 34 is a great price. But if you were in it for the IPO pump, you definitely got a bit of a pump. Planning to transfer a portfolio to Robinhood, but waiting for the 1% transfer. If I open a new account with small deposit to test, will I still qualify for the promo? Yes. Yeah. So you can open an account and do anything you want whenever they have the 1% transfer promo. It's not for new accounts. It's for ACATS transfer. So it's for people bringing over their actual accounts. My uncle is in the same situation. My uncle wants to go to Hood, but I'm telling him to wait for the transfer promo, because they're definitely going to bring it back eventually. That's when you should do it. Ahmed, how's the apartment? Funny you ask. I'm going to the apartment tomorrow with my grandparents. I'm going to show them tomorrow. So, on Sunday. So we're going to get to see the apartment. My mom and dad, I think we'll see it for the first time too. And we'll get a little bit more of a spatial understanding of how I want to decorate it, because it's been a couple months since I've seen it. So yeah, Sunday, I should check it out. And then August, we are making a move. The 200-page PDF file is right here. Here's the link in the chat. You can download it from this link right here. There you go. Does it have bricks? No, we're gonna have to bring back the bricks. Are the grandparents asking where the wife is? Do it every day. Every freaking day, bro. Every day. It's wife. It's so in Indian culture, there's something called I don't know exactly how to say it, but there's a practice you do when you meet your elders where you touch their feet. So you bend down and you touch their feet, and so you touch their feet and you put it over your head. It's kind of like a blessing. And so every time when I do that to my grandma, she just hugs me super tight, because to her it's such honestly, it's a very spiritual thing when someone touches your feet and you give them your blessings. And she'll talk as if she's going to cry, and then 5 seconds or 30 seconds after she's done talking, she's not crying, But it's like, she'll, when someone's getting ready to cry and they're talking, that's how she'll talk. And then 30 seconds later, she won't cry. But it happens pretty much every morning. Pretty much every morning. 139. Are we back? 139. All right. 140 has 190,000 shares. So that one's going to be a bit tough to get. But there's a shot. Arrow, are we open? Are we open? Wow, dude. This is, oh my goodness. 32. Now, if it gets halted again, that means more bids are coming in. 31.58, 211%. Can it actually keep going, or do people halt it at 27.21? Okay, so that is lower. That means maybe it was halted to the downside. Nope, now it's unhalted. 31, 32. This is incredible, dude. This is the beauty of the equity markets. This is the beauty. Dude, can you guys imagine Anduril? Or if we couldn't get shares of Arrow, how the hell are we going to get shares of Anduril, bro? And if we do, it's going to be a pretty aggressive valuation because there's going to be so much demand. So I don't know, but this is going to be these IPOs. If freaking a drone company is up 200%, Stripe, Canva, Anduril, these companies, the demand is going to be insatiable for them. Rondom says I got out for 100%. All right. How many shares did you have? Did you get one share? Or did you get a little bit more? Patrice says, who's we? I got Arrow. Okay. Did you get one share of Arrow? Or did you actually get a decent position? I think like 90% of us in the chat didn't get it, but for the 10% that did, you're making some good money today. They do make eVTOLs. Yeah, they do make eVTOLs. And also that executive order couldn't have come at a better time for them as well. If you got one share, shut the hell up. Oh, it's facts. Jake is right, bro. If you're up 300% on your one share, you don't get to brag about it. I mean, you do, but still. Carter said I got 20 shares at 12.19. Look, I wouldn't buy it here. I'm not touching it here, but for whoever got it, it's not too bad. Why is SoFi down to? I don't know, dude. I don't know. It was down more than it was right now. Everything's pretty much recovering, so it wouldn't surprise me if it recovers. But Chime is down too, so I guess both of them going down together. Robinhood is green, 74.13. Palantir 138.90. And then Arrow 28. All right, so it's not mooning above like 30, really. It's kind of stuck in this range around 26 to 29, but still great. And then Oracle, bro, what a freaking day for Oracle. I mean, dude, freaking Oracle 211. Is it still at 211? It's at 212. I think I missed this one, bro. I think I had a chance to pick it and I missed this. I should have. Instead of JP Morgan, I should have pissed. I should have picked this one. Yeah, I'm looking at the look. When I picked JP Morgan, that should have been Oracle. That should have been freaking Oracle. That should have been Oracle. I had the ability to do that one. Sold my Arrow at 30. All right, some of you guys taking profits. I don't hate it. I don't hate taking profits here. I do not hate it. Up 200%. Yeah, it's from Monday, the prices, but still, Oracle, just as a stock, that would have been a good one for the next year, bro. Given what I know it's expensive here, but given how much they're going to grow, if they beat those estimates that they told the street about 2 days ago, that's going to be a good stock. It's probably going to be a decent stock over the next year. Palantir, yeah, still 139. All right, cool. So that's it. I think we are done for the day. Probably chose Duolingo. Dude, okay. So here's what we're going to do. Here's how we end it off. What is one stock, if you had to pick out of this entire list for you, if you had to go long one stock on this list that is not striked out, what would you pick? Put in the chat. One stock that you would pick to go long on for the next year that is not striked out. What would you pick? Gustavo said, I just started working at Oracle. Gustavo, congrats, bro. If you got some of those restricted stock options at 170, you're already up and doing pretty well on Oracle. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get a consensus in the chat of like 2 to 3 big ones. If you spam the same ticker over and over again, that doesn't count. I'm trying to see actual for 1 year, I do see, okay, I'm seeing a lot of Archers. I'm seeing a lot of Reddits. Definitely seeing a lot of Archers. I've seeing a lot of Reddits. I did not get Grindr. Oh, we forgot Roblox. We forgot Roblox on the list, so we didn't have Roblox. But that would have been a good one too. I'm not seeing a lot of SMCIs. I thought you guys would pick SMCI more. I'm seeing some qubits or some QBTSs. See a couple Costco's, a couple of Oklos. Palo Alto, this is also one I should have picked. This one probably would have been better than Apple. I'm not going to lie. Apple is a real contrarian one now, dude. I've got to bet against my bias that Apple sucks, which I've been right about. And like, dude, we're tracking this every day. Like, I don't want to be bearish Apple anymore. Like now I like, so I got to figure out how to justify Apple 220, 230 next year. Hopefully not 150. And all the arguments that I hate when people make, I have to start making them, like buybacks. Like, that's such a horrible argument. But I'm like, well, the buybacks, 100 billion, decent amount of buybacks. All right, so I see a bunch of Archers, QBTS. I see some Ubers. I see some Costco's, a couple of Adobes, a bunch of Oklos. The other one I should have picked, a lot of you guys didn't say it in the chat right here. Another one I should have picked, a lot of you guys did not say it, except Lunar. Shout out to Lunar last night. They kept saying it, and I didn't see it. CEG. They just signed a 20-year deal with Meta. Stock didn't really move on that. Data center energy space. I mean, that would have been an easy one. Energy demand. That would have been my energy allocation of the portfolio. Arrow, by the way, 2613. CEG, I feel like would have been a good one. But I just didn't have a chance to pick it. All right, cool. That is it. We are done for the day. Arrow seems halted again right here. Looks like it's kind of chilling out around 26 to 30. Regardless, if you got in, congrats. That is green. Palantir right here, 138.92, just below 139. And again, 140 is at 190,000 shares. Cracking 139 again right here on Palantir. Tesla right here, 320, NVIDIA 143, and then Robin at 74.25 on the day. Word of the day is, oh, wow. Speaking of being an Apple shareholder, huh? Vitrify. To convert into glass. I need to learn about the internal dynamics of liquid glass now because I care about Apple. And maybe Apple uses vitrification to make this liquid glass. The intense heat began to vitrify the sand at the meteor's impact site. Fluctuating temperatures in the Klin failed to fully vitrify the glaze on the bowl to turn into glass. All right. Apple, baby. Tim Cook, Siri, AI, iPhones, laptop, MacBook, watch, AirPods. I'm like cringing just trying to come up with a thesis, but there you go. That's what we got. All right, cool. That's it. S&P, do we go green right before we close the show for the day? S&P 601. It's trying, folks. Wow. Geopolitics continues to be a buy the dip. Geopolitics continues to be a buy the dip. S&P 500, 0.35% down on the day. It was down 1%, back above 6,000. And then Oracle just having a phenomenal day. I mean, absolutely incredible. 212.83 up 6.49%. Palantir right here, 138.97. And then you got the S&P 601.50. All right, cool. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.